Chapter 341. Catkins flying, people on the water surface. Flying in the sky, fishing for fish and prawns. Branches swaying in the wind, geese and ducks are free. Dad, come and see a basket of prawns. Last night, brother fished all night and we got a basket of prawns. Dad, look. Not far from the pier, in a family that treated boats as their home, a 5-year-old girl with 2 horns on her head jumped into the cabin from outside. She pulled a middle-aged man whose exact age could not be determined from his face and walked inside. Be careful, don't fall and climb back up wet. Go, a basket of prawns can be exchanged for 2 buckets of rice. It can also be used to make clothes for Weiwei. The middle-aged man touched the little girl's head lovingly and said as he walked. He was pulled by the little girl to the deck of the boat outside. At this time, there was a 15-year-old boy at the bow of the boat. He had already put away the line to catch prawns and was guarding beside a basket of prawns, grinning. Fonger, did you catch a lot yesterday? The middle-aged man looked at his son and asked. Dad, look, we chose a good place last night. We can catch one in a while and fill a basket. The boy called Fong, happily pointed at the basket of prawns. The middle-aged man walked closer and looked at the prawns jumping in the basket. He quickly took a large wooden basin, filled it with water, and poured the prawns in it. Dad, I just poured the prawns from the net into the basket. Why did you pour them out again? Aren't you going to sell them at the dock? Fong was a little distressed about the fruits of his labor just now. The middle-aged man saw that only 2 prawns were dead and breathed a sigh of relief. We are selling them, but not to the dock here. If we sell them here, we can only exchange for 1 bucket of rice. If we sell them at between the clouds and the water, we will sell them at a high price. Fonger, go rest first. Dad and your mom will support us. We will reach there in half a day. Brother, go to sleep. Dad said that he will make clothes for me. He won't buy them here. The little girl also tried to persuade her brother. She ran in front of her brother, pulled his big hand, and dragged him into the cabin with all her strength. With the combined efforts of the parents, the boat that was their home sailed upstream. They would wait until between the clouds and the water to sell it for a higher price. The people at the docks didn't stop them. The price they charged was indeed low. The restaurant wasn't finished yet, and they only had a simple house to cook for the people passing by. The food couldn't be sold at a high price. They could only learn from between the clouds and the water in the future, and buy some special seasonings from the Zhang family. The pier on this side was indeed not far from between the clouds and the water. If one were to row a boat from upstream, it would take less than 4 hours to get there. Sailing against the current would only take a little longer. The husband and wife had a tacit understanding of each other as they rowed the boat forward. The speed of the boat was not considered slow as it faced the water. After sailing for nearly 4 hours, when they were about to reach their destination, the 2 of them began to rest while the other rowed. They would switch later. At this moment, 20 people suddenly appeared on both sides of the river. Just like that day, a rope was thrown to the opposite side, blocking the boat. A person on the right bank shouted, "People on the boat, throw 20 live fish over here. If you don't have any live fish, give us money. If you want to go over, give us 10 coins. The man who rowed the boat was stunned. He didn't expect these people to be so bold. Their family didn't go down because it wasn't safe. It was only a section of the road between the pier and between the clouds and the water. Today there were people who dared to block the boat at this place. I asked you to take the money, why are you in a daze? If you don't take it, don't blame the stones in our hands for not having eyes." A person on the left bank threw a stone up and down and shouted at the middle-aged man who rowed the boat. The middle-aged man looked at the wooden basin on the boat and sighed. "Everyone, do I have spare money? There is still a basin of prawns here. Why don't we take half of it and sell it? It won't be more than 10 coins. Move the boat over here, let me see." The person on the right bank heard that there were prawns and waved his hand. He had already made up his mind to take all of it. Next to him, a person holding a stone started to flatter. "Boss is really amazing. These days you found more than 200 people. The night before yesterday, you also intercepted more than 20 boats. The goods on those boats were worth 300 coins. The river that the boss chose is really profitable." Since someone said it first, others followed suit. Flattering voices rang out from the shore on the right. The middle-aged man rowed the boat slowly to the shore. Immediately, Someone jumped onto the boat and looked down at the prawns in the basin. He shouted to the people below, "Another person, the prawns are good. Later, sell them to others and take away the basin." "This little brother, you can't do it. Just now, you said that you would take half. Leave some for my family. You can't take away the basin." The middle-aged man didn't expect that they were going to take away the prawns along with the basin. He anxiously said, "Do you want to die or live? If you want to live, don't move." This person didn't care at all and shouted at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was so scared that he took 2 steps back. His eyes were full of helplessness and fear. "Do you want to die or live? If you want to live, don't move." Another voice sounded, the same as the person on the boat. The people on both banks looked in the direction of the voice and saw that there were nearly 100 horses on both sides of the river between the clouds and the water. The bailiffs of Sanshui County were sitting on the horses. In the distance, they could vaguely see a few boats sailing down the river. The bailiffs of Sanshui County pulled their bows and pointed the cold arrows at the robbers on both sides of the river. The robbers really didn't dare to move. Some people wanted to jump into the river to escape, but when they saw the boats getting closer and closer, they gave up the idea. "You have guts. A few days ago you just stopped the boats and asked for less money. I thought you couldn't find a way to live, so I didn't have time to deal with you. I didn't expect that when there are more people you dare to rob and come here. You've grown up." A bailiff rushed out and sneered at the people on both sides of the river. They received the news the night before yesterday. Yesterday, they came to between the clouds and the water from the yamen. Today they wanted to patrol here, but they met the robbers as soon as they arrived. Being pointed at by the bows and arrows, the robbers didn't dare to move. The leader's expression changed. He was unwilling to be caught, so he said, "You are bailiffs of Sanshui County. You have guts to do things in Huayuan County. Did you forget what happened to the bailiffs of Huayuan County who went to Sanshui County?" Ha ha ha. All the bailiffs laughed at the same time. The bailiff who shouted before said to the leader of the robbers, "You know a lot. You still remember what happened in the past. Then why don't you know who the county magistrate of Huayuan County is? Are you pretending to be confused with us? Tie them up. If anyone dares to resist, kill them." Yes. All the bailiffs put down their bows and took out their knives. They rushed forward and beat those who still dared to stand on the ground with the backs of their knives. The robbers didn't dare to resist, but it seemed that they were not too scared. They were tied together with ropes. They stood there and looked up at the bailiffs who got on their horses again. "Tell me, who else? Where are they? We can solve them all at once. No one is allowed to make trouble on this river." The leader of the bailiffs put his knife on the head of the robbers and asked, "If you want to catch them, come with me. Let me tell you, it won't do you any good to catch us. It will bring you trouble." The robbers' leader said with a gloomy face. He led the way and walked downstream. For the convenience of guarding, the bailiff's patrol boats came and sent the robbers from the left bank to the right bank. They guarded the robbers from the left bank together. "Brother, please go ahead. We won't stay with you," the last bailiff said to the middle-aged man on the boat and rowed away. The middle-aged man breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the departing figures, he shouted to the cabin, "It's okay. The bailiffs of Sanshui County are really powerful. They look mighty. In the future we won't go anywhere else. With their protection we won't be afraid." A small head with 2 horns on its head popped out of the cabin. It looked around and then jumped out. It patted its chest with its small hands and said to the middle-aged man, "Dad, it was so scary just now. I thought my prawns would be snatched away." "Don't be afraid. The bailiffs are coming. When we get to between the clouds and the water, it will be safer. I want to send you to the school in Zhangjiazhuangzi. You can learn something in the future. You can be better than others. I will go there every day when I sell things and give them some money. You can eat and live there." The middle-aged man thought of the bailiffs of Sanshui County and thought of Zhangjiazhuangzi. He felt that his daughter should also go there to learn so that she could marry into a good family in the future. The little girl blinked her big eyes and nodded. She didn't know about the future. She only thought that there would be many children playing together. When she learned something, she would teach it to her brother. It was said that if she learned well there, she would be given some things that could be used in daily life. When the bailiffs escorted the gang of bandits to the dock, Zhang Zhong also came here. When he heard that a merchant ship was robbed the night before, he wanted to send people from the county to take a look. However, he was afraid that the bailiffs in the county were not well trained, so he had to send people to Sanshui County. The bailiffs there were much better than those in Huayuan County. Today before dawn, he set off from the foot of the mountain to see for himself. Unexpectedly, when he just arrived at the dock, he saw the bailiffs of Sanshui County catch some people first. Under the protection of the guards, he walked forward and looked at them one by one. Sir, this is their leader. It seems that he was ordered to come here by someone. When I asked him, he didn't say anything. The leader of the bailiffs was Chan Dong. When he saw Zhang Zhong coming, he respectfully went forward and pointed at the bandit leader and said. Zhang Zhong was now somewhat accustomed to his official position. Since he dealt with Shao Qi the day before yesterday, he also became ruthless. He looked at the bandit leader and said to the guards, "You guys ask him. If he really doesn't say that he was killed, just say that he tried to assassinate an imperial court official and was killed on the spot." Yes. The two guards untied the bandit leader's head. At the same time, they pulled the bandit leader's shoulder and twisted it hard. When the bandit leader screamed and the clear sound of molars breaking sounded at the same time, his arm was already broken and he was dragged to the side by the two guards. Chapter 342. After a quarter of an hour, two guards came back with the bandit leader, whose arm had been reattached. Sir, they said that there is a trading company supporting them. They came from other places to make a living. As for which trading company it is, they don't know. That trading company will send different people to contact them. In the beginning, they were given some money so that they could eat their fill. Later on, they were told to stop people on the river. When there were more of them, they would start to rob the goods. These goods would be shipped away by boat, and they would be given less money than the value of the goods. Those people said that when there are more of them in the future, they won't have to do this kind of thing anymore. They will find better jobs for them to do. They can earn at least 200 copper coins a day. The guard told Zhang Zhong what he had just interrogated. He didn't know what the guard did just now. The bandit leader's face was pale, but he didn't seem to be injured. Zhang Zhong couldn't figure out which trading company was behind this. Since they hadn't shown up yet, he would wait and solve the problem in front of him first. Have you found out where they are staying? Go and arrest them directly. The river can't be chaotic. We still hope that there will be more merchants. These people will be detained at the dock first. When the others are arrested, they will be sent to the yamen of Huayuan County together. Zhang Zhong instructed the yamen runners of Sanshui County. To him, the yamen runners of Sanshui County were no different from the yamen runners of Huayuan County. In fact, they were even more useful. The yamen runners of Sanshui County also thought the same. They felt that they were the yamen runners of the Zhang family. Instead of being angry, they were very happy when the Zhang family asked them to do something. The yamen runners patrolling the river didn't only patrol, but also occasionally helped to transport goods. They didn't need to give the money to others. They just needed to divide it among the yamen runners. After arranging the arrest, Zhang Zhong found the person who was waiting at the dock and had his goods stolen. The boat was fine, but the goods were stolen. This person had also teamed up with others to form two fleets. They had set off from the port and were preparing to sell their goods in the capital. After their goods were robbed, everyone discussed and ran to the docks. They told the people at the docks what had happened, and the people at the docks quickly passed the news to the county. Zhang Zhong's arrival made them feel a little flattered. They didn't expect the county magistrate to come in person. Each of them respectfully told Zhang Zhong about how they were robbed that day, and how many things they lost. They didn't expect the county magistrate of Huayuan County to compensate them. They just wanted the county magistrate to catch the robbers and retrieve as many things as possible. However, Zhang Zhong knew that those things had already been transported away. If he wanted to follow this line, he wouldn't be able to find anything. Nobody knew where the ships that transported the goods had gone. Moreover, many ships looked the same. There were all kinds of goods that were transported to the capital every day. After thinking for a while, Zhang Zhong said to these merchants, "The goods are gone. The approximate price is 420 strings of coins, right? This money will be paid by the yamen of Huayuan County. In the future, you can rest assured that if you encounter the same thing, The goods will be taken care of by Huayuan County. After all, it happened in Huayuan County. Sir, you are really good. A merchant heard Zhang Zhong's words and knelt there and shouted, "You don't have to do this. Continue to do business in the future." Zhang Zhong had his own plans. These bandits had more than 200 people and they could be used to work. He didn't need to give them wages. As long as they didn't starve to death, he would give them whatever they lacked. There would be enough wild vegetables. It was easy for the Yamen runners to catch the bandits who didn't have weapons. He just needed to wait at the docks. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan received a large sum of money today. It was 80,000 strings of coins. There were silver, copper coins and some silk. They took out what belonged to them first and put the rest in the warehouse. They sent more people to look after them. They picked out the best silk and divided it according to the population of Elm Village. Regardless of the size, each person was given 10 feet of cloth to make clothes. There were 322 people, so they needed 80,500 silk bolts. 81 bolts were enough. The silk used as money was not all that accurate. Some of them were even worn out and worm-eaten. After picking and choosing again, he finally found 81 bolts of silk that were of better quality. As for the rest, he would use them when he paid the tax in Huayuan County. In order to maintain the monetary value of the silk bolts, the imperial court could let the heavily damaged silk bolts continue to have the same purchasing power, which was equivalent to 200 copper coins. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't plan to keep the silk bolts. Usually, when they bought things at home, they would use the silk bolts if they could. They were all large transactions. If they were exchanged with others, not only would they take up space in the warehouse, they would also be worried that they would rot or be eaten by insects. The two of them packed up, called their family members, and took a car to Elm Village. After half a day, the two of them arrived at the outskirts of Elm Village. As expected, there were many elm trees. Because of the rain 2 days ago, some coal had been washed away on the road. The black and yellow color mixed together, making people uncomfortable and very muddy. If they bump into something and can't explain it, the villagers will feel guilty. The old man did not give in at all. They had agreed that as long as the county magistrate came, they would carry him all the way and not let his feet touch the ground. Even the children had to do the same. The old man blocked in front. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could not play the game of eagle and chicken with the old man, so they had to stand there. After a while, 4 strong-looking young men came, including Dog Tian. The 4 of them each had a piece of wood as thick as an arm on their shoulders. 2 were in the front and 2 were behind. In the middle of the wood was a big chair with a shed. "Put it here. One of you go back and tell the cook in the village to take out the dried meat we made in the first 2 days to cook. Take out everything else that can be eaten. Kill the chicken of Big Cat's family." The old man pointed on the ground with the stick and called a person who carried a cloth to pass by. The chair was placed half a foot above the ground. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan went up and sat side by side. The 4 people stood up steadily at the same time and lifted Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan up. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were pretending to be children, so they could not say too many words that adults should say. They looked around and let people carry them all the way to the village. When they reached the place where the road was being repaired, the villagers stopped what they were doing and looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan with respectful eyes. Everyone continued to work. "We will eat together at dinner time. You come here and call a few people to wait for orders." The old man there ordered a 13 or 14-year-old child to come over and wait to serve Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Chapter 343. It's here. The old man led Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to a small hill behind the village. There was a dark pothole here. Above it was some water mixed with coal to form a coal slurry. Below it should be coal. Around the pothole was a wall built by the villagers with mud and grass. It surrounded the pothole. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't understand the purpose of building a wall. This was a small open pit mine. They could dig out coal by digging around it. The old man explained, when the coal flows into the fields, it can't produce any food. The people in our village built a wall outside to block it. But when there is a heavy rain, it can't stop it. Sometimes it overflows the wall and sometimes it directly breaks the wall. We can only block it a little. When the old man said this, his face was full of helplessness. The four people carrying Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also looked sad. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't know how to laugh when they saw their expressions. Living a hard life in a coal mine. Well, this kind of thing was quite common. Many people didn't know that their poor hometown had something that others were jealous of. It was not suitable for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to directly discuss business with the village chief, so they signaled the person who followed them with their eyes. The person began to talk about what he had learned before coming to the village chief. To Muramasa, it's like this. This coal, our family wants it, that, if you want it, take it. Ask the county magistrate to issue a document. This is your place. If you don't have enough people, our village will help you. Without waiting for the Zhang family to finish, the old man waved his hand and said generously. The person from the Zhang family waved his hand. To Muramasa, we don't dare to take this place for ourselves. It's fine if it's farther away, but this place is too close to the capital. We can only mine. This place is still your elm villages. We don't have people to dig, so we'll ask your villagers to help. For every 20 dan of coal dug out, we'll give them 10 coins. Or we can give 1 coin for 2 dan of coal. For every 20 dan of coal dug out, the Zhang family will give 1 coin to Elm Village and 1 coin to the county. What do you think? The old man was stunned when he heard the amount of money. It was too much. They would give 1 coin for every 2 dan of coal dug out. If they dug out 20 dan of coal, they would give the village 1 coin. People like Guzi Tian in the village could dig out hundreds of coins a day. The old man, who thought that digging coal was too easy, shook his head vigorously. No, it's too much. We'll help you dig. You don't want the county's money? Doesn't it belong to your family? To Muramasa, Mr. Tian, Huayuan County doesn't belong to the Zhang family. It belongs to the imperial court. The money we'll give is not much at all. We have a big use for this coal. We can make more money. If we do it well, we can make a profit with 1 dan of coal. You don't have to tell me how much money you can make. It's your Zhang family's ability to make mountains of gold and silver. It's also what your Zhang family deserves. The Zhang family is a good person, and so is the Wang family. It's settled. We'll help you dig and you'll give us money. You didn't use it before because you haven't eaten your food. We'll pay you this amount in the future. Even if you sell the coal you just dug out, we Elm Village won't dig it ourselves. We'll dig it for you. If others come, we'll drive them away. The old man was full of heroism. He kept tapping the place where the coal was dug out with the stick. The 4 people carrying Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also full of agreement. They combined the unyielding force of resistance with the simplicity of gratitude. Xiaobao and Wang Wan were moved as well. The old man's intentions couldn't be any clearer. You can use this coal to earn as much money as you can. We'll only recognize you as our family. With that salary, we won't dig it up and sell it ourselves. We'll keep it for you and guard it. Many people would think that they were stupid, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan definitely didn't think so. This was a real person. If everyone in the world could be like this, there wouldn't be so many problems. We must protect them and let them live a better life. Wang Wan's lips moved. I know. I'll think of an easy and profitable way to let them do it. They'll have to move in the future. Otherwise, they'll get sick if they breathe in too much coal ash. Later, we'll bring some cloth and make masks for them. When Grandpa buys cotton comes out, it'll be better to make masks than other things. Zhang Xiaobao agreed. People like Elm Village would be at a disadvantage if they didn't protect them. The force of 322 people wasn't enough. When more people knew there was coal here, they would come to mine it. There was no way to stop them. They could use any means. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the person in the inner courtyard. This person understood that he had to say something. To Muramasa, there's no need to stop outsiders. If they want to come and dig, let them dig. For every stone they dig, they'll have to give the village and the county 1 copper coin. By then, this land won't be able to be farmed. You can bring the villagers to cook for them. The Zhang family will teach you how to cook and give you some ingredients. When the old man heard this, he was stunned. The first part was still acceptable. Why was it that if other people dug, they'd have to pay 1 copper coin for every stone they dug? Zhang Zhuangzi would pay 1 copper coin for every 20 stones dug. He could still calculate this. When he heard that they couldn't farm here in the future, he was a little sad. However, he understood that with so many people digging, there would be coal ash everywhere. It really couldn't be farmed. Fortunately, the Zhang family could help find other jobs in the future. Cooking was indeed good. Yes, it's settled. If other people come, they'll have to pay more. The more they dig, the richer the village will be. Don't let them bring their own food. They'll either starve or buy our food. This time it was Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's turn to be stunned. This old man was tough. In the past, only a few small restaurants didn't allow people to bring their own drinks. They didn't expect the old man to say something like this. He didn't teach his family what to say in this situation. It seemed like they could only let him do it himself. The person in the inner courtyard didn't disappoint. He immediately said, Tamura Masa, it won't do if you don't let them bring food. I have an idea. Let them bring it and we'll hire some people to dig. Then we'll buy the village's food for them. It'll definitely be better than the food brought by others. Give them more money, and when the outsiders see it, they'll naturally quit. Yes, we have to compete. Comparisons are odious. Let's do as you say. Let's go back and wait for dinner. There's a lot of food today. It'll be enough to eat. The old man slapped his thigh and agreed to the Zhang family's proposal. This made the person breathe a sigh of relief. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were carried back like this. It was easy to deal with now that the matter was settled. As for the salary that would be paid after a month, the two of them were not in a hurry. They would be paid according to the amount of coal they mined. As long as it was enough to buy the delivered food, they would start to pay. The group of people returned to the village. Most of the people went to repair the road. Only the people in charge of cooking were busy there. In order to welcome Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the villagers cooked the meat that the Zhang family had given over the past 2 days. After eating the meat on the first day, they put salt on it and hung it on the stove. This way it could be preserved for a longer time. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw that the villagers had taken out almost everything that could be eaten at home. They even killed the chickens that they usually couldn't bear to kill. They felt a little sorry, especially the bacon, which was taken down as soon as it was smoked. Xiaobao, they don't lack salt here, right? Let's ask someone to send some salt over next time. Is it your favorite bacon? Why did I feel that it wasn't delicious before? Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao had been placed on the ground. To be precise, they were placed on 2 big logs, one in front and one in front. The two of them were still sitting there. There were a few children playing next to them. If there was anything, they could just call them. Zhang Xiaobao thought about the taste of the bacon. It's okay to eat a little. As long as it's not a critical moment, I usually don't eat it. Every family makes different kinds of bacon. Maybe the taste here is better. I know what to ask the villagers to do in the future. What to do? Wang Wan just asked Zhang Xiaobao to treat the villagers better. Zhang Xiaobao also agreed. In just a short while, he thought of what to do. Raise pigs. Raise a lot of them. Raise a few thousand of them. See if there is a barren mountain in the county. When the time comes, let them occupy it and raise the pigs there. After a year it will be easy. They know how to make sausages, right? Some of the meat can be made into sausages. Some of the pork ribs and spine bones can be sold to the people of Huayuan County. Let the people make these 2 kinds of bones into snacks and sell them. Pig head meat is also fine. People nowadays don't like to eat pork, but the smoked pig head meat is really good. We can put it in lunch boxes and sell it. The pig hair can be made into writing brushes for the children to use. The most important thing is the hind legs of the pig. Let them make ham. We can help to export it. Zhang Xiaobao listed the benefits of the pig one by one. He felt that it was good. Wang Wan listened for a while and shook her head. The first part of what you said is okay, but the last part of the ham doesn't seem good. You have to find a good wood to smoke it. Just like Beijing roast duck, you have to use some jujube wood. The cost is too high. Smoke? This doesn't need to be smoked. Just use salt. When the ham was first produced, it was pickled with salt. Later on, there were more processes. In the beginning, there weren't so many processes. It's just like making sausages. It's not so complicated. Let's try it. Zhang Xiaobao didn't think that the ham had to be smoked. He would think about how to make it later. At least it had to be pickled with salt. Wang Wan stuck out her tongue. Then let's try it. If you don't do it well, you will be blamed. Why don't you raise sheep? Everyone likes to eat sheep. especially the mutton soup. You can also make it with some cheap goods. The two of them discussed for a while and decided to let the villagers of Yushu village raise pigs. Other than the ham, the consumers would be the ordinary people. If the rich people didn't want to eat pork, they wouldn't consider it. The sky slowly turned dark as the two of them chatted. At this time the food was ready. The road workers were also rushing back with their tools. Chapter 344. The moon was bright and the stars were shining brightly. It was quiet on both sides of the river. Suddenly, the sound of horses galloping could be heard. They were restless. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were just about to eat when they heard that their father was looking for them. They couldn't stay any longer. They put down their chopsticks and asked someone to find a horse. They were carried onto the horse one after another. Under the shocked gazes of the villagers of Elm Village, they followed the man into the distance. What happened? Zhang Xiaobao turned to ask the guard beside him in order to have more time to think. The yamen runners on the other side of the river caught some robbers today. Only one escaped the net. The rest were all caught. These people said that they were ordered to do it by a trading company. The trading company has a single line of communication with them. Master is worried because they can't find the person. The guard leaped forward a little and shouted to Zhang Xiaobao. He was in the limelight. Oh, so they don't know which trading company is behind this. If I had known, I would have gone back after eating. Since the robbers have been caught, the trading company would not do it personally unless they want to expose themselves. If they stand out now, it would be useless even if they are relatives of the emperor. The emperor can even kill relatives. Zhang Xiaobao was not worried this time and said to Wang Wan. Wang Wan nodded and asked, "Is that person very important? How did he escape?" "He is not that important. He was sent by the other side to pick us up. We thought we could catch him, but he disappeared after jumping into the water. There are people patrolling on the river, but we did not see his head above the water. We also sent a boat to cast a net, but we still could not see him. It was as if he disappeared in an instant. Master is worried that he will go back and tell the trading company what happened here. He is worried that the trading company has other means. It would not be good if they send people to hurt the young master and the young lady. Therefore, he sent the two of us to bring the young master and the young lady back." The guard shouted in reply again. Wang Wan nodded to show that she heard. She said to Zhang Xiaobao, "It seems that the person has a tube or something on him. He can breathe in the water near the shore. Why don't they jump in to find him? They only care about patrolling with boats." "It doesn't matter. If there is really a trading company behind the robbers, they will naturally know when the robbers are caught." Zhang Xiaobao didn't care much about this. "It's not like that. If we catch that person, won't we know who's behind it?" Wang Wan felt that this person knew the most important thing. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and choked on his words. "If we really catch this person, he will definitely say that he is a cloth merchant. After all the torture, a person who is so well prepared knows how to use other things to breathe in the water, and is also a good swimmer. Under normal circumstances, we will want to ask him something. So they are from the cloth trade. Is the Chun family involved? They used to cut off our water supply but were harmed by us once. They have a motive." When Wang Wan heard the name Buxing, the first thing that came to her mind was the Chun family. "You didn't hear it carefully just now. If I said we really catch him, he will definitely say that he is from the cloth trade. If he says it is the cloth trade, is it really the cloth trade? The Chun family is not stupid. If we don't take the initiative to find trouble with them, they should be burning incense at home. They can't wait to hide from us. Why would they jump out and tell us that there is another Chun family?" Zhang Xiaobao directly excluded the Chun family. Even if he decided to take the time to harm the Chun family once in the future, he wouldn't think that it was the Chun family. Not only did he exclude the Chun family, but he also couldn't do anything to them in the future. He needed to make use of them. Wang Wan thought for a while and also figured out what was wrong. "Then who do you think it is? Is it some other marquis or something? Seeing that our family is making so much money, they are coming to harm us. Maybe it is someone who can compete for the position of crown prince, or even someone sent by the crown prince himself. Does that kind of person need to do that? They can just look for my father and give him some pointers. My father will know what to do. Isn't it just giving up the profits? Our family has always given people two impressions. One is that we are strong. Anyone who dares to have designs on Zhuangzi will be dealt with. The other is that we are weak. As long as you think your status is good enough, you can come over and we will give up the profits. They didn't come over directly, which means that their status is not prominent. But they can support those people to rob us and sell the goods. This let us know that they still have some power. This power is not in the official circles, or it should be said that they don't want to make use of people in the official circles. Zhang Xiaobao was analyzing. Wang Wan felt that it was reasonable and asked, "Then can you guess who it is?" "Tubo people. They suffered a loss last time, so they are coming to deal with us this time?" "The Tubo people are not here to rob us. They are here to kill us and steal our goods. They really want to make life difficult for us. After killing us a few times, no one is willing to cross this river. The people who instigated them are not outsiders but our own people. Our small river allows those merchants who don't have much money to use small boats to transport goods. This is robbing other people's business. They are robbing other people's business. They are robbing other people's business. Those who rely on Jingshui River to make money are not willing. If it were me, this would be a warning. Next time it won't be a problem here. It will be a problem at our shipyard by the Jingshui River in prefecture. For example, there will be a fire and you can't buy wood locally. These kinds of things can happen. This is a second warning." Zhang Xiaobao was very sure about the general suspects. If there was only hatred, they would not just rob and not kill. It was also because of benefits. Wang Wan listened and felt that it was a waste of Zhang Xiaobao's talent to be a swindler. He should have been the director of the Special Second Division. He only had information about the robbery, and he was able to analyze so much. He was more reliable. It was the same when he fought with others in a battle of wits. He did not need to have too much information, just a little bit would be enough. If he was really given an intelligence agency, how much valuable information would they be able to find? As long as he had a clue, he would be able to deduce the general situation. It was just like the popular saying, "Don't stretch out your hand. If you stretch out your hand, you will be caught." Wang Wan did not know if it was the system that made people like Zhang Xiaobao disappear or if it was fate. However, she still wanted to know what those people would do, so she asked, "Then what will the third warning be? Do you think they will have a third chance?" "There are only two chances. The first time is when they are exposed. The second time is arranged by us. After that, it will be time for us to counterattack. In a battle between two ace snipers, will there be a third chance? Besides, they are not ace snipers. If it were me, I would definitely not do that. If they did not take action, it would be fine. But since they took action, they would solve the problem directly. They would only test if they did not have detailed information. For example, we have Li Sun. Our information is out in the open. Is there a need to test? Others know our nature. How dare they warn us? This time I will make them suffer. After meeting my father, I will get someone to send a message to Li Sun. The shipyard can be prepared. It is up to them whether they want to burn it or monopolize the shipbuilding wood. I hope it is the latter. I like this kind of economic game. I don't like people who break the rules. If it is the latter, I will give them another chance. If it is the former, then they can only wait for more violent revenge. There is a fine line between heaven and hell. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao was certain that it was done by those people on the Jingshui River. Wang Wan smiled and did not say anything. She liked Zhang Xiaobao like this. It was just like the small bridge in the past. Where it led depended on the thoughts of the person who came. At that time, heaven and hell were separated by a single thought. The three horses were still running, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not anxious at all. They had already analyzed the situation. Zhang Zhong was in a different mood. He did not have Zhang Xiaobao's super analytical skills. He was still looking for suspects, such as the Chun family's Zhuangzi. When he heard about the trading company, he thought of the cloth company and the Chun family. He thought that the Chun family might have contacted the cloth company to find trouble with him. "Master, don't worry. Our Zhangzhe Zhuangzi is not afraid of trouble. Since they did not dare to come out in person, maybe they are afraid of us." Erniu had been accompanying Zhang Zhong. When he saw Zhang Zhong's anxious look, he tried to persuade him. "You don't know. Sometimes some things are not as simple as they seem. They have not really done anything yet. When they do, everything will be too late. Zhang Zhong was not as optimistic as Erniu. He was not used to this kind of thing. In the past, it was all done by his son and daughter-in-law. He studied wholeheartedly. Later, when he became the county magistrate, he learned a lot of new things. But now, when he had to face the situation personally, he realized that he still did not understand this aspect and still had to learn. Erniu wanted to say that as long as the young master and young lady came, everything would become simple. But he did not dare to say that. What would he do to the master? He did not dare to say that, but Zhang Zhong did not care. Wait for Xiaobao and Cuckoo to come and ask them. Maybe we will have an idea. Master, I don't think you can think of it. The young master and young lady may not be able to do it. Erniu followed up at the right time. Unexpectedly, Zhang Zhong's face sank. Erniu, you have been following Xiaobao all the time. How can you say such things? My son Xiaobao is better than me. Each generation is better than the last. Erniu realized that he had said something wrong. He quickly nodded and said, Master is right. The young master is good. Once he comes, it will be easy. Yes. Wait for my son Xiaobao to come. Let's see what good ideas he has. Now nothing can go wrong with the river. Otherwise, Huayuan County and Sanshui County will be finished. When Zhang Zhong thought of his son, his mood improved a lot. The only thing he was worried about was that the company had a backup plan and would continue to cause trouble. Chapter 345. Cats fly in the night and people can't sleep. Looking at the candlelight that has turned to ash, they sighed with emotion like flowing water. When the trend falls, the heart is also broken. Who does disaster cover? But drunk with the moon. While Zhang Zhong was waiting for his son and daughter-in-law to come back, there was also someone who couldn't rest. In the Chun family's Zhuangzi, the head of the family, Chen Gongxin, already knew what happened during the day. He was drinking alone and cursing. Who is it? He came to the river to cause trouble and didn't reveal his identity. He only said that it was a trading company. Isn't this telling the Zhang family that it was Buxing who did it? But when did Buxing do such a thing? The Zhang family will definitely think that I asked someone to do it. What should I do? I have to make the Zhang family believe that it wasn't me. I'll go talk to them. Chen Gongxin didn't know how much he had drunk. He drank one cup after another. People said that when one was drunk, one wouldn't be afraid of anything. However, when he stood up and swayed, he was still thinking about what happened during the day. The more he wanted to forget, the more he couldn't forget. He didn't touch the food on the table and only drank. The servant in the Zhuangzi came over to help him pour wine. Seeing him like this, he was very worried. The servant wasn't afraid of Chen Gongxin, but he was afraid that he would do something to the people around him if he drank too much. If he were to think of something wrong and vent his anger on her, she would be done for. At the very least, she would not be able to avoid being whipped. Do you think I should talk to Zhang Zhong and tell him that I didn't do it? The servant was worried when Chen Gongxin turned his head and asked him. The servant was so scared that he trembled. Master, I thought that it would be useless even if you went to look for him. If you really went to look for him, others would think that you were guilty. Who is guilty? Did I do it? Tell me who is guilty. Chen Gongxin's face darkened as he stared at the servant. It's the Zhang family who is guilty. It wasn't you. If you wanted to do it, why would you hide? It's the Zhang family who is guilty. The servant regretted making that sound just now and tried his best to make up for it, or to make the master forget that he was beside him. Chen Gongxin didn't do anything to the servant. He shook his head and said, The Zhang family is not guilty. You don't understand. The Zhang family is thinking whether this matter is related to me. I'm not guilty. I won't go to them. What if they think I'm guilty? Phew. The servant at the side heaved a sigh of relief and also calmed down. Master, someone is here. Someone from the Zhang family is here. He said that he has something to tell you. At this time, a gatekeeper rushed in and said nervously, No, I'm not meeting anyone. What Zhang family? Which Zhang family? There are many people with the surname Zhang. Do you think I'm afraid of him? What did you say about the Zhang family? Is it Zhang Zhong? Chen Gongxin was still in a daze and said casually. Suddenly, he reacted and asked again. Yes, it's a guard from his family. He said that he has something to tell you. Master, are you going to meet him or not? The servant's voice trembled as he spoke. At this time, Chen Gongxin finally sobered up a little. Yes, I have to meet him. Find him and bring him in. No, invite him in. No, I will personally welcome him. No, invite him in. When Chen Gongxin said this, he struggled and changed his mind again and again. In the end, he finally decided to invite the guard in and not personally welcome him. That would make him look guilty, even if he really didn't have any confidence in his heart. Soon the guard came in. As soon as he saw Chen Gongxin, he smiled and said to Chen Gongxin, "My master has something that he wants to let family head Chen know alone." "Ah, alone? Leave, all of you leave. Tell me." Chen Gongxin drove everyone else out of the room and asked when he was alone with the guard. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still riding on the same horse. There was one less guard beside them, Zhuangzi, who was sent to the Chen family just now. The two of them hadn't eaten yet. They didn't bring their backpacks with them. After traveling in the middle of the night, they were feeling tired. This was the time when they usually slept. Finally, the lights of the dock appeared in front of them. The two of them slightly increased their speed. When they reached the shore, there were already people waiting for them. The two of them dismounted and changed boats. When they reached the opposite shore, they didn't wait for the boat to stop and jumped over one after another. "Father, your son is back. Father, is there anything to eat? I'm hungry." When Zhang Xiaobao saw his father, he ran over to the table and grabbed the brush to write on a new piece of paper. He didn't forget to mention that he hadn't eaten yet. Zhang Zhong imagined several situations that would happen when they met. For example, when his son saw him, he would say, "Father, it's nothing. It's simple." Or, "Father, what happened?" Or, "Father, I know." Or, but he definitely didn't expect it to be like this. He came in and said that he was hungry. He still had to practice his son's handwriting. Ernie didn't think too much. He just listened to what others said. When he heard the young master's words, he ran out but was stopped by Wang Wan. "Tell the kitchen at the dock to make some noodles. It's enough for 4 people. Just empty the kitchen. You don't need to say anything else. Oh, and tell the kitchen to put the ingredients away. We'll use it later." "Got it. Little girl, I'll go and tell them." Ernyo responded and ran away again. At the same time, he was happy in his heart. Only now could he eat the noodles. There were only the master, the young master, and the young lady in the house. There were only 3 people. Including himself, there were exactly 4 people. The young master and the little girl didn't usually cook. When they instructed others to cook, it would definitely be delicious. It seemed that they were preparing to cook for themselves today. Ernie went out. Zhang Xiaobao was still writing. He wrote a letter to Li Sun and asked Li Sun to arrange it. That would save him a lot of trouble in the future. Zhang Zhong was also at the side looking at his son writing the letter. With one look, he knew that the letter was written to Li Sun. After reading the contents of the letter, he was baffled. It was all about arranging some things in the dock. Something like leaving a certain place for people to easily light a fire. Something about loading a few boats with sand and placing them in a place where they could light a fire together. What was all this mess going on for? He asked him to come back to help think of a solution. What did it have to do with the dock? When Zhang Zhong couldn't figure it out and Ernie came back, Zhang Xiaobao finally finished writing the letter. He dried the ink on the letter and put it in an envelope. After looking around, he found a seal and applied it, then handed it to Ernie, who had just returned. "Ernie, have someone send this letter to Li Sun as soon as possible. It must not be delayed. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable." "Yes, young master. I'll go arrange it now." Ernie ran back. Before he could catch his breath, he ran out again. Zhang Xiaobao didn't wait for his father to ask and directly said, "Father, you don't have to worry about the business. We'll go back together tomorrow. I'll go get something to eat first. I'm starving." After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao pulled Wang Wan and hurriedly ran away. Only Zhang Zhong, who was in a confused state, was left in the room. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ran to the kitchen. The noodles had already been mixed. Zhang Xiaobao rolled them into slices. Wang Wan found some green onions and cut them into small pieces. She also found some non-spicy sauce and eggs. She also found some meat and mushrooms. She cut them up and used a small stove to fry the sauce. While waiting for Wang Wan to finish frying the sauce, Zhang Xiaobao also cut the noodles into strips and put them into the other pot. He even said, "I'm too hungry. I don't have time to slowly roll it out a few more times. Let's just make do with it." Wang Wan saw this and began to look for cooked food. She found cold shredded bamboo shoots and 2 cucumbers. She patted them and made them into garlic cucumbers. She also didn't know how the ducks got the beef. She also cut it into slices and mixed it with garlic sauce. As for the soup, she didn't have time to make it. Zhang Xiaobao had already fished out the noodles. Thinking that there was no soup to cook the noodles, he simply put the noodles into cold water. He poured the water twice and put it in a basin. He put it on his head and sent it back. Wang Wan also put the dishes on the tray. She also felt that it was heavy. She held it on her head with one hand and picked up the sauce bowl with the other hand. She followed behind Zhang Xiaobao and returned to Zhang Zhong's room. Erniu also came back at this time. He had been thinking about eating. "Dad, you also haven't eaten because you were thinking about something, right? Just eat something casually. I don't have time to cook." When the basin on Zhang Xiaobao's head was taken by Erniu, he said to his father. The things Wang Wan carried were also taken by Zhang Zhong. Erniu didn't need to say anything. He directly ran to the kitchen and brought back the bowls, chopsticks, and plates. Zhang Zhong looked at the 3 cold plates. He knew that his son and daughter-in-law really didn't cook anything. Only the cucumbers were just chopped. He really didn't eat and couldn't eat. He always felt that there was a place that wanted to scheme against him hiding in the dark. Erniu served others at this time. He first served a bowl of noodles for each of the 3 people. When the 3 of them were ready to eat, he also served a bowl for himself. He sat at the side and waited for others to eat. He was used to eating with the master family, especially with the young master and young lady. He didn't feel afraid at all. Zhang Xiaobao first scooped 3 spoonfuls of sauce for his father, then 2 spoonfuls for Wang Wan. He also scooped some for himself. He pushed the sauce bowl to Erniu and said, "Put it on your own." After saying that, he and Wang Wan began to eat. The soaked noodles were really good. They lowered their heads and refused to raise it. They didn't even want the 3 dishes. After eating, Wang Wan finally reacted. She put some cucumbers in Zhang Zhong's bowl, and some in Zhang Xiaobao's and her own bowls. She pushed the plate to Erniu and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "I forgot to shred the cucumbers and didn't bring the garlic. Just make do with it." Zhang Zhong felt that it was good and also ate there happily. Erniu was really good. "It's delicious. The young master and young lady's food is delicious. I'll go get the garlic." After saying that, he ran away. Looking at his bowl again, there was only a little water left. There was no noodles at all. Chapter 346. On one side of the mountain, there were pavilions and small buildings for people to swim in. On the other side of the water, there was a gentle murmur. Paddlers walked along the shore with bamboo poles. On the other side, they were happy and sad. They listened to children singing about fishing boats. "Dad, Dad, here." At the little Luoshui pier, a group of children were carrying backpacks and preparing to go to the other side of the mountain. A girl among them looked at the boat in the water and suddenly shouted to one of them. When a middle-aged man and a 15 or 16-year-old boy stood out and looked over, she waved her hand and turned to the other children beside her and said, "My house is here. I'll bring you to my house later. My brother's roasted shrimp is delicious." "Wei Wei, is it comfortable to sleep on the boat?" A 6 or 7-year-old child who was about the same age as Wei Wei asked curiously. "Well, more or less. I fell asleep after a while." Wei Wei looked at her house and put the backpack in front of her. She opened it and took out the things inside. "Wei Wei, why are you here?" The middle-aged man asked Wei Wei when the boat came over. He was relieved when he saw that there were other children beside Wei Wei. Wei Wei happily moved forward and let the boat come closer. When the boat came closer, she began to pass the things in the bag to the middle-aged man and her brother. "Brother, Dad, this is what I got when I went to school for the half-month exam. There are 5 century eggs, 3 salted goose eggs, 1 foot of silk, and a new set of toys for playing house. I changed them into hairpins and gave them to my mother." These 10 copper coins are also my reward. Dad, you don't have to pay me next month. I learned well. They didn't ask for money and even gave me things. Dad, you don't have to make clothes for me. The school will make them for me. Wei Wei handed the items over one by one and said that each one was correct. Then she pointed at the 5 seeds embroidered on her chest. One of them was a sprout. Wei Wei has a sprout now. In half a month, she has recognized 113 words. They said that other than Sister Luer, Wei Wei is the fastest to recognize the most. The middle-aged man took the items one by one. Hearing his daughter's words, a look of disbelief appeared on his face. In just half a month, he had spent 100 copper coins to send his daughter to school. Including food and lodging, he had to fork out another 50 copper coins. In just half a month, his daughter had brought back so many things for his family. 2 kinds of eggs and a foot of silk would cost more than 20 copper coins, which was close to 30 copper coins. He also got back 10 copper coins. There was also a hairpin. This hairpin would cost at least 40 copper coins. In total, it was half a month's worth of tuition, food and lodging. Also, from next month onwards, he would no longer need to take money from Zhang Zhezhuangzi. He had not seen his daughter for half a month, and she had become fairer and fatter. Would Zhang Zhezhuangzi do this? Could it be that his daughter had stolen other people's things? Thinking of this, the middle-aged man's face darkened. He was just about to ask when a person wearing the Zhang family's inner court uniform came over. He was holding a small bag in his hand. You must be Wei Wei's father, right? I am the Zhang family's 3-star errand boy. This time I brought the children out to have a look and see the people and things outside. I originally planned to look for your boat when I returned. Your boat has always been sailing between the clouds and the water. I didn't expect to meet you here. This is Wei Wei's other prize. Please take a look. The errand boy handed the bag over and said, in the future, Wei Wei doesn't need you to pay a single copper coin. Everything will be managed by the Zhang family. Fishing doesn't require too many people. As for your son Lu Feng, if he is willing, the Zhang family can arrange a job for him. This is salt. It's at least 5 caddies. Zhang Zhongren took the bag and immediately knew what it was. He opened it and was even more certain of the things inside. He knew that the salt here was controlled by the provincial government. It wasn't expensive, but it wasn't cheap either. Fortunately, he didn't need a lot. The official price was 10 to 15 copper coins per bucket. When he went to buy it, some sold for 30 copper coins per bucket, while others sold for 40 copper coins. 5 caddies of salt was 20 copper coins. However, this salt was different from what he usually ate. This was fine salt, so it was whiter than the usual salt. It wasn't easy to buy it even if one had the money. After listening to the errand boy's words, it seemed that his daughter Wei Wei was enjoying a good life there. His son could also find a new job. Father, I want to work and earn money to support the family's expenses. The middle-aged man's son reacted quickly. The other things weren't important. If the Zhang family said that they would find a job for him, it definitely wouldn't be something that could be found anywhere. This kind of good thing was brought by his sister, so he definitely couldn't miss it. He pulled his father's arm and reminded him. The middle-aged man didn't agree just because of a few words. He asked again, what's so good about my Wei Wei? Don't worry, the Zhang family won't harm Wei Wei. Wei Wei has learned more things in half a month than other people combined in 2 months. She hasn't learned anything before, and she's smart and not inflexible. That's why the Zhang family made this decision. The errand boy explained patiently. Seeing that his father was still asking, his son became anxious. Father, if the Zhang family wants to harm us, what other methods do they have to use? Oh right, the Zhang family is good. Then what can my son do? At this time, the middle-aged man also thought it through. With the power of the Zhang family, as long as his home was still on this river, it was too easy for the Zhang family to harm them. There was no need for them to go through so much trouble. There are 3 workshops in Sanshui County, and one of them is a food processing workshop. The original manager can't handle it, mainly because his skills in processing seafood and freshwater fish and shrimp are not good enough. I heard from Wei Wei that Lu Feng is better than ordinary fishermen in this aspect. He can be the manager of the seafood processing workshop there. Is it possible? The errand boy directly gave the position of manager. Although it wasn't the chief manager of the workshop, it had a lot of power and responsibility. Naturally, it would be more profitable. Wei Wei also knew some things when she was studying there. When she heard that her brother was going to be the manager, she happily said to her father, "Father, that manager will get a salary of 500 copper coins a month. He will also be given food, clothing, accommodation and transportation during the holidays. He can work for 10 days and take a day off to go home." Really? The middle-aged man didn't expect the Zhang family to directly give such a position. He turned around and looked at his son, afraid that his son couldn't do it. Feng Er met his father's gaze and said, "Father, I will try. If it really doesn't work, I will come back to continue fishing." The middle-aged man finally relaxed and nodded, "Okay, then my son will try. This errand boy, if my son causes any trouble, look for me. I will take responsibility." The errand boy was also relieved. He didn't expect that it would be so difficult to arrange a better place for someone to work. If it wasn't for Wei Wei, he wouldn't have cared about his son. "Don't worry, as long as Lu Feng doesn't put poison in the seafood processing, he won't cause any trouble. Tomorrow, let Lu Feng go to the Li family's farmstead and find the person in charge there. Then he can go and do his job. I still have to continue playing with the children. Goodbye." After the errand boy was settled, he cupped his hands to the middle-aged man, patted Wei Wei's head and walked back. "Father, I'm going to play. I'm going to play at the lake over there. You can go there by boat." Wei Wei put her backpack on her back and said to her father. Then she went back. The other children at the dock wanted to go to Wei Wei's house to take a look, but seeing that the errand boy didn't want to go, they gave up the idea. After the group of children left, Wei Wei's mother came out of the cabin. Just now, she couldn't show her face because her man and son were there, so she could only stay in the cabin and listen. When she heard that her daughter had exchanged a toy for a hairpin for her, she even wiped a few drops of tears. "Mother, I have something to do." Feng Er saw his mother come out and said happily, "Good, when you get there, do your job well. Don't embarrass your sister. They are so good to us because of your sister." Wei Wei's mother also knew why the Zhang family did this. The middle-aged man was in a good mood and handed over the hairpin in his hand. "Madam, look, this is what your daughter earned for you." "What, madam? She is an old woman. Quickly send this to the first family in Linshui." Wei Wei's mother snatched the hairpin, blushed, and turned back to the cabin. The middle-aged man slightly pushed the boat, and like a small fish, the boat changed direction and went to the first family in Linshui. With a turn and a push of the pole, the boat was perfectly controlled. Just this move of the pole was enough to deter many people who were rowing the boat. The middle-aged man smiled and muttered, "Our Lu family is all good at this." During the hunting season, the toads in the field croaked regardless of day or night. Some people listened leisurely, while others felt irritated. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan belonged to the group of people who were leisurely. The two of them were swimming in the area behind the yamen where the family lived. The second courtyard that they entered would be the courtyard where the two of them would live in the future. The courtyard door would reopen elsewhere, leaving only a small door here. The two of them held important positions in the family. Many people in the inner courtyard had to come over to discuss matters, so they were given a courtyard with two entrances. In addition to the yamen at the front and the garden at the back, there was a small corner door next to it that allowed people to come directly to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The coal from Elm Village was being loaded into carts and shipped away by boat to Zhangzhe Zhuangzi to be used for smelting. It had only been half a month, so no one had noticed or interfered. The two of them were lying on the surface of the water, holding onto the letter written by the frustrated Li Sun. The letter stated that no one had lit the fire, and no one had bought a large amount of wood. Li Sun was asking Zhang Xiaobao if the expert in his imagination had made a mistake in his calculations. "Xiaobao, did you calculate wrongly? Did we underestimate the enemy? No one from Jingshui River has come to make trouble." Wang Wan was also a little uncertain. They had waited for half a month, but nothing had happened at the river. Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei smiled and said, "If it were me a few days ago, I wouldn't have done anything either. It wouldn't have worked and I would have exposed myself in advance. In another 2 days, the winter wheat will be harvested. That's the time when the transportation ability is tested the most." Chapter 347. Wang Wan did not expect Zhang Xiaobao to be so certain. He even deployed another step. There has been no movement for half a month. How can you be so sure? Half a month is nothing. For a purpose, there are many things that can be done for years. The county has started to build roads. There is no asphalt, no cement, and no bluestone roads. They can only use some gravel to pave the roads. It will take a year or two to repair. Zhang Xiaobao was not willing to spend more time on schemes, so he changed the topic to people's livelihood. He liked to do things related to people's livelihood. He also wanted to do this to cheat money. Unfortunately, God did not give him much time. He just started, and he was not afraid for the rest of his life. His family was powerful. Wang Wan also did not want to ask why Zhang Xiaobao was so certain. Well, let's not care about other things. Let's talk about road repair. In fact, it is not a problem. A car with wooden wheels needs to be repaired. How much can it overload? Besides, it is not difficult to repair this kind of road. Didn't you see that when it rains, no matter how bad the road is, the people living on both sides of the road will come out to repair it? The more people there are, the fewer potholes on the road. Without anyone telling them, they will repair it themselves. Yes, they will repair it themselves. This kind of thing seems normal now. In the future, get some gravel and put it on both sides of the road. It is not worth much. A pile is only 1 or 2 coins. Leave it there for a year. Unless the rain is too heavy and washes it away, it can be used to pave the road. Zhang Xiaobao was multitasking just now. He was thinking about road repair and coal at the same time. He was thinking about habitual thinking. He remembered some pictures from 100 years ago. There were always piles of gravel on the side of the road in the village. At that time, people would not take gravel to their houses. When the road was not good due to the rain, except for specific people, some old men in the village would take a shovel and help to pave the road. It was hard to understand their motives. Since it could be done at that time, perhaps it could be done better in this era. Wang Wan did not think too much and said, "Let's go, Xiaobao. The two of us will go and take a look. You can catch some toads in the field and stew them for dinner tonight." Toads are beneficial insects. Don't lie to the child. Basically, the louder the voice, the more they eat. Let's go. Wang Wan was not a member of the Animal Protection Association. She just wanted to eat toads. She even had a pond at home. The two of them climbed out of the swimming pool. Zhang Xiaobao specifically found a 2-pronged fork to fork the toads. Just as the two of them went out, they came to a small ditch by the side of a field. Before Zhang Xiaobao could do anything, a fast horse ran over. "Young master, this time, the Chun family's leading cloth company has started to purchase a large amount of wheat. They said that they want to ship it to Sichuan and sell it to the garrison there." The person on the horse said something to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao and Weiwei smiled and said, "I know. Don't worry about it. Just pretend it didn't happen." "Yes," the man on the horse answered. He held the reins and turned the horse around to gallop away. Zhang Xiaobao thought for a while and tightened his grip on the fork. "Don't worry about it. Let's enjoy life and continue to fork the toads. Someone is going to be unlucky again." Wang Wan felt sad for those who came to find trouble. From time to time, one or several small boats could be seen on the connected river. They were carrying people and goods. Zhang Zhong had found 3 places where they could pull the fibers. It did solve the problems of life for dozens of people. Every day, people would ask them to pull the fibers in order to save time. Unexpectedly, not only did they pull the fibers themselves, but they also borrowed money to buy a few donkeys. With the donkeys pulling the fibers, the speed was much faster. The people pulling the fibers were relieved, and the owners of the boats were happy. When Zhang Xiaobao heard about this, he asked people to pay attention to the person who came up with the idea. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were really short of manpower. They only had a few people, but their business was too big. They did not even have a mobile person. Erniu was also sent out to manage the coal mine. The children in Zhuangzi's school were studying hard, but they were too young to use them. The academy had just been built, and the teachers had not all arrived yet. Facing this situation, the main force pulling the fibers by the river, Sun Chongyuan, who still knew how to use his brain and courage, was put on the list of people to pay attention to. At this time, Sun Chongyuan was commanding a few people to pull the boat together. This boat was not big, but it was heavy. No one knew what was on it, but the people pulling the fibers were worried that the boat would run aground. The 6 of them put a white linen cloth on their shoulders. The innermost layer was a layer of leather, which could make their shoulders more comfortable. There were also 4 donkeys harnessed there, pulling with them. The donkeys were strong and had good endurance, but sometimes they were not obedient. Otherwise, no one would use them. Brother Chongyuan, what do you think is on this boat? So heavy. Don't tell me it's stones? One of the people pulling the fibers asked son Chongyuan, who was beside him. Don't think too much. We did not offend anyone. Who would put stones on this boat to make us suffer? The people coming here are looking for money, not for energy. If it's really stones, then they are precious stones. Ordinary stones are useless when transported here. Who knows, they might be filled with copper coins. Sun Chongyuan moved his feet. With the donkey pulling in front of him, he saved a lot of energy. He was even able to switch the rope from his left shoulder to his right. This switch made him feel much more comfortable. He glanced back and saw a few people standing on the bow of the boat. He quickly turned his head back and continued to pull. The people standing at the bow of the boat were also looking around. They felt that this place was interesting. There were actually people pulling fibers. The people at the bow of the boat also knew about some of the things happening in Huayuan County. In just 20 days, a place that no merchants were willing to come to in the past had a large number of merchants. Some were transporting food, some were transporting cloth, and some were transporting salt and meat. It gave people the feeling that this was not the Zhong County that was made poor by County Magistrate 1, but a Shang County. Brother Qianyuan, did you see that? Huayuan County's County Magistrate Zhang Zhong is a capable person. Since he took office, he first took in the bailiffs. Then, he took in those documents. Shao Qi was sent to Beijing the moment he took action. His house was also raided. The last time he was here was half a year ago, right? At that time, the people of Huayuan County were all in a daze. What about now? He was so happy when he was working. This was his ability. If he was the head of a manor, he would be able to turn a middle county into an upper county within 2 years. If he was the county magistrate, he would be able to turn the entire county upside down within a month. He has politics, commerce, agriculture, and even an official. He is also the top scorer of this year's Jinshi. This kind of person, no matter where you put him, you will feel at ease. The only thing you don't know is how he is in terms of military strategy. If he can do this, won't he be an all-rounder? At the bow of the boat, a person wearing light yellow clothes with green stripes said to the person next to him. The person next to him was also wearing light yellow clothes, but the color was light green. At this time, he was looking with his hands behind his back. When he heard the person next to him, he said, "Brother Weitong, are you scared? Everyone says that Zhangzhe Zhuangzi is very powerful, and that the small bridge is the bridge of helplessness. I don't believe it. No matter how powerful he is only one person. If you and I work together, won't it be easy to deal with him? We are not people from the grain company, and we are not people who don't have the ability to do anything. If we were not in the same place, it would be fine. But this river here, how much business has he stolen from us? If we retreat, how can we raise our heads in front of others in the future?" Brother Qianyuan, whether we raise our heads or not is not important. The main thing is that Buxing, who dares to interfere at this time? If they take in the goods, how can we take in the goods? They raise the price and take in the goods, saying that they will take in some of the goods. If that is the case, how can we still get wheat? Are we going to wait for the spring wheat and rice crops to harvest? The person who spoke earlier did not care about his reputation. Merchants like them did not think that reputation was important. Compared to farmers, their status was inferior. Even if they were richer than farmers, what he cared about was money. Everyone knew that grain was needed at the border. The production of grain around the capital was poor, so it had to be transported from the south. Every year, when it was time to harvest, they could take advantage of the opportunity to lower the price and raise the price to make a profit. The more capital they invested, the more they would earn. The person who was called Qianyuan was also thinking about this matter. What was different this year from previous years was that basically every family in Sanshui County grew rice. If they could not get the wheat this time, or if they could not use transport to lower the price, when a large amount of rice was harvested, no one would look for them again. Just thinking about what was about to happen made him uncomfortable. This time, no matter what, he had to get the wheat and ship it out to sell. While he was thinking about this matter, the person next to him said, "Brother Qianyuan, we still have to think about this matter. We can't rush it. Why don't we ask that person from the Chen family?" This time he was pushed to the front. "I heard that he is not on good terms with the Zhang family. Why don't we take this opportunity to get in touch with him?" "Well, that's good too. Even if we can't touch the Zhang family's foundation, we have to let them know who they can and can't afford to offend. We'll be at the docks soon, right? Let's see what they've done to the docks. If we can make use of it, this trip will not be in vain." Perhaps he was tormented by the situation and had no other choice. He thought there was nothing in this world that could not be united. It was just that he had not found that door yet. After he said this, the two of them went silent again. They just stood at the bow of the boat, letting the wind blow past them from time to time. Sometimes it would blow up the corners of the boat, and sometimes it would blow their hair into a mess. In short, it showed a kind of freedom. Chapter 348. As the two of them talked, they walked for a while before a connected garden appeared in front of them. The two of them didn't understand why a garden was built not far from the pier. Of course, they didn't know that one of the 16 businessmen who went to Hua Yuanxin's yamen had ancestors who practiced medicine. One of them had even been an imperial physician. However, in his life he found that he would starve to death if he went on like this. That was why he was determined to be a rich man since he was young. He wanted to eat and drink well. Regardless of whether it was his persistence or talent, he traveled a long way on the road of business. He planned to build a warehouse of medicinal materials next to the dock. People who practiced medicine not only knew how to treat patients, but also knew how to distinguish medicinal materials. They also knew how to store and keep medicinal materials. They even knew how to do some processing. Before the warehouse of medicinal materials was built, his father came. Compared to him, his father was more skilled in medicine. It was said that the person who wrote the prescription used to live in a mountain in Huayuan County. Mu Ming had come here to meet with the merchant. While he was preparing to build a warehouse for medicinal ingredients, his father wanted to stay here and take a look. At the same time, he also wanted to treat a few people. However, the people who were sent by Zhang Xiaobao to find out what business they wanted to do found out. They went back and told Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao was a person who wouldn't miss such an opportunity. He immediately found his father to discuss it. Under the lead of his father, Zhang Zhong, and the businessman's father, a place to treat patients was built in a short time. However, this was still not enough. When practicing medicine, it was impossible for everyone to be treated with acupuncture and medicine. Some people needed long-term treatment. Zhang Xiaobao handed over this matter and built some wards for the hospital, specifically for observation and treatment of patients. It was a very simple thing, but it was also a waste of resources. Just because of Sun Simiao's name, Zhang Xiaobao pushed it out. It didn't matter whether the businessman's father was skilled or not. What was important was that there would be many medical students coming to see the mountain where Sun Simiao lived. If they felt that the medical skills of the people in the hospital were not good enough, they would naturally put forward their own opinions. Then the people arranged by Zhang Xiaobao would find a way to keep them. In the name of saving the common people, they would use Sun Simiao's name to expand the hospital. In order to compensate the merchants for the 5,000 strings of coins and the ginseng they sent, they took out a few hundred strings of coins. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan designed this place that combined treatment and cultivation. They found someone to plant some willow branches and waited for them to slowly grow into willow trees. He then contacted the person who sold the cotton and bought some cotton from him. Then he asked the local people to pick some wild flowers. Gardens were built one by one. Not to mention whether the patients were really cured or not, in such an environment one's mood was different. In the past few days, there had been people who were truly devoted to the study of medicine. They had indeed come to cause trouble. If they came, they would set up an arena. If they lost, they would not have to leave. What was the point of people like them leaving? They should be doctors here, helping out and learning more. If they won, they could not leave. Did they come here to fight to become famous? A doctor has the heart of a parent. If they leave, aren't they afraid that others will be treated badly? You have to give them some pointers. Otherwise, do you deserve Sun Simiao's precious prescription? Do you still have medical ethics? Have you never seen the sincerity of a great doctor? If you want to leave, then leave. Anyway, there are many people coming and going. In the future, I will help you spread the word. You don't save people and rely on small Taoists. What kind of doctor are you? What? You are a doctor? You want to go back to the palace? Then why did you come out? You can treat people in the palace but not in the county? Is there a difference between rich and poor when sick? Stay. There are countless people who are sick in the world. If you can treat one person, you can leave a record of your treatment. Learn from Sun Simiao's selflessness and pass it on to the later generations. Every time you treat a person, you can let the later generations have the experience of treating people and engrave it on a tombstone. As for the money and medicine, you don't have to worry too much. When a doctor thinks that there is a time when there is no doctor in the world, how can a businessman have a heart of stone? I will give you money to spend and help you collect medicinal materials. I will also give you help from the county government office. You can stay. After a series of big words, threats and inducements, most of the skilled people were fooled into staying. In just a few days they treated more than 10 people, making the reputation of the clinic rise. In front of them was the main traffic road, and behind them was the mountain where Sun Simiao used to live. The 80 books he wrote were recorded and engraved on the stone tablet on the mountain, and on the big billboards in various places of the hospital. This kind of effort made the businessman, who thought that he had lost 5,000 strings of coins, smile happily. After other businessmen heard about it, they were also willing to invest here. The county government office didn't cheat others of their money, and really helped them to do things. In addition to this hospital, the other 15 businessmen, who worked together to build a place or worked alone, were all taken care of by Zhang Xiaobao. Some wanted to build a restaurant. Zhang Xiaobao specially sent people to deliver seasonings, providing long-term supply. He also taught them how to make fast food. Originally, there was already fast food at this time, but it was not very convenient to carry it around. Zhang Xiaobao asked people to contact them to buy and sell vegetable oil. They tried to use more fried food, not because it was good but because it was convenient to carry. He also provided them with a stable lunchbox manufacturing factory, which was the one in the 3 workshops that processed wood. In the name of helping, Zhang Xiaobao could also make some money. Some people wanted to build a carriage company, so Zhang Xiaobao also asked his father to start building roads here first. He helped them to finish the road construction as soon as possible, so that transportation would be convenient. Even if there were 2 businessmen who worked together at first, but they didn't know what to build and only wanted to build a warehouse, Zhang Xiaobao could also think of a good idea for them. In the summer, they would freeze the cheap meat they collected and wait until winter to resell it. They would be able to earn the difference in price. From next year onwards, as long as the river was frozen, they would be able to dig out the frozen river and keep it until the next winter to provide air conditioning for the cold storage. This year was simple. At the Shaoluoshui wharf, there was still a lot of ice left last year. They were worried that there was no place to sell it. Some of that ice could be used to eat and drink, and some could only be put in the house to cool down. They transported it from there and sold it to 2 businessmen at a cheaper price. Following the river, they could use their own boats to quickly support the cold warehouse. After helping the businessmen, Zhang Xiaobao sold a lot of his goods. He also provided a handicraft manufacturing job opportunity for the people in Sanshui County and Huayuan County. The businessmen were satisfied. A lot of the money they took out was used on them, such as planting trees, repairing roads, etc. Zhang Zhong, the county magistrate, also helped them to solve some of the raw materials. The people were also satisfied. As long as they had some craftsmanship, they could make things after receiving the raw materials shipped by the Zhang family. They didn't have to worry about not being able to sell the finished products. They had already contacted good people, and the people who got the raw materials saved some money. The people in the 3 workshops were also satisfied. Now that they had the demand of the businessmen in Huayuan County and the river was connected to them, as long as the products were not too bad, they could sell them. Their welfare also increased a lot. The relatives of the Zhang family and the Wang family were satisfied. They were originally afraid that it would be difficult to sell too many things. Now with Zhang Xiaobao's help, not only could they sell the goods, but they could also help others. Good people, all of them were good people. While Li Sun was satisfied, he was also shocked. He felt that the expert from the Zhang family would not let go of even the slightest chance. He would link everything together and let the Zhang family gain benefits, and let the people who cooperated with the Zhang family gain benefits as well. It could not be said that the Zhang family was pushed to do something by the Zhang family, or the Zhang family was enticing others to do it. Anyway, in the end everyone was happy. Even Bai Go's nephew wrote a letter to his uncle, saying that the Zhang family's shipyard was the first to send the boats over. They could rent or sell them, and this made a lot of money for his wharf. This cooperation made the people outside feel the capability of the Zhang family again. This was also what worried the people on the boats a little. The two of them knew the power of the Zhang family, but sometimes they had to do something. They were used to making money by the Jing River. The Jing River was their rice bowl. The connection of the small river would steal their rice bowl. If they didn't act now, they wouldn't have another chance after this year. When the small merchants got used to this road and worked together, they wouldn't be able to act even if they wanted to. Some of the bigger merchants even started to use this small river to transport their goods when they were in low quantities. The two of them stood at the bow and watched. They saw the rapid development of Huayuan County, and saw the business opportunities brought by this river. There were even more business opportunities than their big river. The big river's current was fast, so it was impossible to stop the boats everywhere. But the small river could. It was strenuous to go against the flow of the big river, but it was easy to go against the small river. When the big river reached the capital, they had to take a detour. There was no need to use the small river. If someone fell into the river, it was too difficult to save them. If someone fell into the river, they could be picked up by any boat. Those who knew how to swim could swim to the shore. If there were shortcomings, it was nothing more than the small river's transport capacity was limited. Big boats couldn't use the small river, and the speed was not as fast as the big river. However, these two shortcomings were not shortcomings. How many people could use the small river to transport goods? The speed was not as fast as the big river, but there was no backlog. Once the goods were loaded, they could leave. Chapter 349. Guoran, Guoqianyuan, Mi Fan, and Mi Weitong just watched without saying a word. They really wanted to learn how this was done. Would it work if it was on the Jingshui River? The two of them really couldn't figure out how this could be done in such a short time. Was the top scholar different from others? As the boat moved forward, the two of them also looked around. They had already entered the places where the merchants did business. Most of them were auxiliary businesses, but there were many people coming in and out. There was even one who had joined forces with little Luo Shui to set up an intermediary. The information from both places didn't go by boat, but by horse. In this way, there was an exchange of information between the two docks. In just one day, the new intermediary's information would be sent over, and the merchants at the two docks would be able to obtain more useful information. From there, they would be able to decide whether to unload the goods at the docks or ship them to the docks. When the boat reached the dock, the two of them realized that this dock was different from other docks. Other docks docked directly by the river, but this river was small. There were too many boats docked here, and other boats couldn't pass through. The person who built this dock had actually dug a man-made lake. It wasn't that big to call it a lake. It was just that at the back there was a connecting waterway. The water wasn't too deep, but it was slightly wider. All the boats docked at the dock directly entered the waterway and unloaded from there. This way the water flow wasn't fast, and the river wasn't blocked. It was really convenient. How is it? Brother Qianyuan, do you see now? A few days ago, the people who came to ask for information didn't mention that there was a waterway here. Today you see it. That Zhang guy doesn't have such great ability. It must be the Zhang family who told him. Mi Fan didn't want the boat to stop. She stood at the bow of the boat with her hands behind her back and said to Guoran. Guoran nodded. He had to admit that Huayuan County was changing rapidly every day. I don't know what it will be like in a few days. Let's go, this isn't our destination. Let's go to the Chun family first, then go up and see where little Luo Shui is. Let's not go to the Chun family for now. I think the people from the cloth store want to take advantage of us this time. While we are in chaos, we have no reason to let them do what they want. When it comes to collecting grain, we used to rob a part of the grain store's business. It couldn't be that a lion had snatched some food that belonged to wolves in the past and found that another lion had also come over to eat it, and then said to the other lion that this was his food, right? The result would be two lions fighting, with a wolf waiting at the side. There would also be a person who was originally going to kill the lion, happily hiding at the side with a hunting bow in his hand. Mi Fan thought a bit more and analyzed the situation. She used the simplest example to explain it so that Guoran could understand. He was also vexed about this matter. When there were benefits, everyone wanted to get a share. When the cloth company interfered, the grain company did nothing. It could only be said that the grain company was waiting for an opportunity. In the past, they couldn't get a share, but now that they had lost it, they were waiting for a conflict to break out between them and the cloth company. Then what should we do? We can't let the cloth company interfere just because this whole should belong to the grain company, right? Now that we are robbed, we can't just let the cloth company interfere, right? Look at the price they are paying. They are actually increasing the price by 1 for 1 bushel of wheat. Wait until other places find out and transport the wheat here. Should we also increase the price by 1 or even more to collect the wheat? Guoran didn't think it was a good deal no matter how he thought about it. The wheat that Sanshui County could collect was too little. Other people grew rice while Huayuan County grew more rice. However, the people in Huayuan County were starving this spring, so they wouldn't be able to sell much wheat in the fall. The extra one from the cloth company was clearly prepared for the people who grew wheat in the surrounding areas. To be more precise, it was prepared for the small merchants who bought wheat. They bought wheat and spent the transportation fees. No matter what, they could earn 3 or 4 won per bushel. They didn't have to manage it themselves, so they just had to arrange for people to do it. There were even some small merchants who would hoard the grains and wait for others to increase the price. When the time came, they would consider who to sell to. This was not the result they wanted. In the past, transporting by land was more expensive than the grain itself. Those merchants had no choice but to sell the grain to them. They controlled the Jing River. But now they didn't have to be afraid. The merchants could take another route, which was more convenient for them to transport the grain. When that time came, how much would the price of this year's grain increase? Mi Fan also understood the importance of this matter. Other people were not fools. Naturally, they would estimate the price. However, he always felt that things weren't as simple as they seemed. There was a conspiracy, but he couldn't figure out where the conspiracy was. This made him have no choice but to be cautious. He knew who his opponent this time was and how powerful his opponent was. He had also heard of many people who had come to find trouble with him, but they had all been defeated in front of that ordinary-looking manner. Seeing Guoran beside him anxious, he advised, "Brother Chenyuan, there's no need to be like this. Right now we're in the dark and they're in the light. If we really look for that Chen guy, it's very likely that we'll be exposed. We're not dealing with the cloth company, but the Zhang family. The cloth company's matter has indeed caught us a little off guard. At worst, we can give up on this. Let's deal with the Zhang family first. What's so difficult about dealing with the Zhang family? Let's show them what we're capable of and they'll know what to do. I'll let them beg us to come and get a share of the profits. Last time I said that we should burn down their shipyard, but you didn't agree. What do you think now? They don't make big ships there, they only make small boats. We can even go to other shipyards to buy skeletons, stick a piece of wood on them and sell it to others. This will increase the number of small boats on this river. When they make big ships in the future, if they don't sell them, we can directly transport goods on the Jing River. We still have to think about how to deal with a marquis. When Guoran brought up the matter of dealing with the Zhang family, he felt a bellyful of anger. The shipyard had just been built and it was a mess. If they set fire, no one would be able to find out who did it. In the end, he brought it up a few times, but Mi Fan didn't agree. Once they started building big ships, the security there would be tighter, and it wouldn't be so easy to set fire to it. Mi Fan also knew that Guoran had been complaining about how he had tried to stop him back then, but he couldn't do anything about it. After being flooded once when he was young, he always knew about some dangers in advance, so he was able to prepare and avoid them. This time, just as he was about to agree to set fire to the shipyard, That uncomfortable feeling came again. And it was even worse than before, so he didn't dare to agree. Even now, he was standing at the bow of the ship with a relaxed expression, but he still felt uncomfortable. He always felt like he was being watched, and when he wanted to do something, not only did the person not stop him, but he also sneered repeatedly. Just now, when Guorun said that he was going to the Chen family, he couldn't help but tremble, as if he couldn't go anywhere. Now that Guorun brought up the matter of burning the shipyard again, he could only continue to persuade him. Brother Qianyuan, we're all businessmen, and we're just looking for money. Last time I listened to you and sent people to rob you. What happened? They almost found out our identities. Do you think it's so easy to set fire? It's better to be safe than sorry. Don't be anxious, let's think about it at length. Setting fire to the shipyard, we definitely can't do it unless we have no other choice. They're still so chaotic now. Didn't the people we sent to gather information say that because they were rushing to make boats, it's even more chaotic than before? It's not too late to set fire to the shipyard then. Let's go up and see if there's any other way. After hearing Mi Fan's words, Guorun didn't mention setting fire to the shipyard anymore. He was used to listening to Mi Fan's words, and Mi Fan was always able to let him and the others gain more benefits. Now he had no other choice but to go up with the ship and let Mi Fan come up with ideas. Their ship was different from the small boats here. They had built it themselves, had more oars, and could row very quickly. If it wasn't for the heavy load on the ship, there wouldn't have been a need for someone to pull the cable. When it was almost noon, the two of them sat at the bow of the ship, eating and drinking with the others while admiring the scenery on both sides. In front of them, they could faintly see the restaurant between the clouds and the water. Compared to the original between the clouds and the water, there were many people coming and going between the clouds and the water now. Many people came here on small boats because it was convenient to travel. They wanted to taste the unique dishes between the clouds and the water and experience the feeling of being in the center of the water. The ship moved forward for a while and came to a man-made lake. Reeds had been planted here. Next year, or perhaps this autumn, they would see patches of reeds growing. Many people only knew that the reeds looked good, but it wasn't hard to guess that the Zhang family was preparing to cut the reeds in winter and weave them into straw curtains to sell to people who were preparing to grow vegetables in winter. Good, the scenery is really good. What do you think, Brother Wei Tong? If they didn't steal our business, I would really like to have a chat with that Zhang Zhong and come here when I have nothing to do. While eating, one of the people looked at the scenery between the clouds and the water and sighed. There were pavilions built here, and there was no lack of corridors connecting the pavilions. There were also some flowers and plants on the corridors and pavilions. When the sun shone on the water vapor appeared through the reeds. It really did feel like a trip between the clouds and the water. It's good. But I wonder what happened in front. From now on, don't say what you said just now. If someone hears it, they will expose us. Mi Fan also felt that the restaurant built in the water was good. When eating there, they could see the reeds outside, the corridors and pavilions in the lake, and the clouds in the sky and the flowing water in the distance. Sitting there, he felt that it was worth a few strings of coins. Chapter 350. The boat did not stop at the group of restaurants between the clouds and the water. It continued forward until it reached the small bridge. The small bridge had been torn down and replaced with a new bridge that was higher. Otherwise, the boat would not be able to pass. Some people made the boat special. Although it was not deep in the water, it was very high, could carry a lot of goods, and it was not that wide. Seeing that they were about to reach the small bridge, the people sitting at the bow of the boat all stood up at the same time. They looked at the surrounding scenery in disbelief. This is the Zhuangzi of Zhang Wang and Gu San family? How is this still Zhuangzi? This is clearly a paradise on earth. One of the people came here for the first time. Even though he had heard people say that this place was good, it was not as shocking as seeing it with his own eyes. Just as Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao had designed, the villagers lived in picturesque two-story houses that had just been built. Some places were still damp. On the Zhuangzi of Zhang Wang and Gu San family, there was no ordinary road at all. Wherever one walked, it was paved with bluestone. Canals snaked through the spaces between the houses. Beside the canals were cloisters with flowers and plants on both sides of the cloisters. In addition to these, there were several ponds connected to the canals. Occasionally, one could see fish jumping up in the canals beside the pavilions. They swung their tails in the air and fell back, bringing with them a string of water droplets that sparkled under the sunlight. There were also small wooden houses in some places. It was noon, and the children who were too young to be brought out to play were walking around. A burst of laughter was heard by everyone. There was also a road that connected to the other side of the mountain. It had been built into a winding road. From time to time, birds would fly out of the mountain and circle around the ponds in the road. They would chirp and fly back, letting people see their elegant figures when they spread their wings. The Zhuangzi of Gusan family was built a little later. There was still a part that was not built, but together with the Zhangwang and Gusan family, it looked just as charming. Everyone stood at the bow of the ship and stared blankly, as if they didn't want to leave after coming here. The people on the ships that passed by them saw them like this and could understand. When they first came here and saw such a scene for the first time, not a single one of them was not stunned. No wonder so many people are willing to come here to eat. It's not just between the clouds and the water. The two Zhuangzi are even more beautiful than between the clouds and the water. You can even go to the mountains to play. I heard that there's a pond in the mountains as well. The fish you catch will be cooked on the spot for those who go there to eat. The person who had just praised the Shuiyun Club said enviously when he saw the tourists strolling around the Shuiyun Club alone or in groups of 3 or 5. If it weren't for the fact that he had to see what was going on here, he would have gone down and followed the tourists up the stairs or strolled around the corridors. Mi Fan was also attracted by the scenery. Such a place was not easy to come by. Usually, there were few people in beautiful places. It was too cold and quiet. Wandering around those places was to experience a special kind of ethereal feeling. This place was different. Amidst the emptiness, there was a strong sense of peace. Even if there was anger in one's heart upon seeing such a scene, seeing the laughing child, seeing the fish jumping in the canal beside the child, and then looking at the surrounding green fields, one's anger would dissipate, and he would reveal a knowing smile. If one could live here and come here to take a look when they had nothing to do, they would definitely be able to live a few more years. Occasionally, they would pick up a hoe to hoe the grass. The rural scenery was nothing more than that. Looking back at the different restaurants between the clouds and the water, they sighed with emotion. It's really good. The farmers on Zhuangzi are the ones who really enjoy life. One side is the sky, the other side is the mountain, the other side is the water, and there's also the fields. This is the scenery that people have always said. The mountain by the side and the water in the middle. Everyone nodded one after another. When they crossed the small bridge and continued forward, they would turn back from time to time, looking back with nostalgia. The boat traveled for another 2 hours. In the afternoon, when the sun was at its peak, everyone finally prepared to return to the cabin to take a nap. At this moment, a boat caught up with them. Its speed was very fast. The boat was narrow, so in a short while it stuck to the boat. The boat was a little lower, so was the person standing on it. He said to the people on the boat, "Did you come from the Jingshui River? Are you the people on the boat over there? I'm a 5-star errand boy from the Zhang family. I'm here to bring a letter for the main family." As he spoke, the man took out a sealed letter from his sleeve and handed it up. Everyone was stunned for a moment. At the same time, they felt cold sweat seeping out. They thought that the Zhang family knew that they were behind this and had come to warn them. The person guarding the boat looked warily at the Zhang family below. Without an order, he wouldn't accept the letter. However, Guoren's personality was different from the others. He said loudly, "What are you afraid of? Just take it." The person guarding the boat carefully took the letter. The Zhang family man said, "The main family's master said that if you think that the matter over there is feasible, you can stay in the first family by the river for 2 days. Naturally, someone will come and find you to discuss the details. I wish you all a smooth journey. Goodbye." After the man finished speaking, he gave the person rowing the boat a look. The boat turned around and the 2 oars moved. In a few moments it became a small black dot and went away. Guoren took the letter and carefully looked at the outside. There was not a single word on the outside, only a picture of a rice sprout. He then looked in the direction that the boat came from. At this time it was already gone. He thought for a moment and opened the letter with a knife. He glanced at it and handed it to Mi Fan. "Brother Wei Tong, tell me what's written inside? If you don't understand, just give it to me. Don't pretend there." Mi Fan took the letter and began to read it carefully. After reading 2 lines, she let out a sigh of relief. It wasn't the Zhang family warning them not to cause trouble. Instead, it was a suggestion for them to cooperate with the docks to build a large ship. When the time came, they would travel together. There weren't many words on the letter. It only gave a general idea, but it allowed people to understand the business opportunity contained within. Zhang Zhong's name was written at the bottom of the letter. There was also a private seal and a rice seedling. "It's like this. The Zhang family wants." Mi Fan read it herself and told the contents of the letter to the people who were still waiting to know what was written. A merchant immediately said, "This is a good idea. We also have a dock that has been built for many years. It will be easier to build a big boat. When the time comes, we can make more money. I trust the Zhang family's ability to make money." When he said this, Guoren was not willing to accept it. "What good idea. I don't think we can work with them. Their dock has just been built. There are people who don't know how to work. They clearly feel that it is difficult to build a big boat by themselves, so they want us to help them. Listen to what Brother Wei Tong said just now. Let our dock send a few people to teach them how to build a boat. We will also build a boat. Teaching them how to build a boat is what they want the most. When the time comes, the 3 workshops will all be theirs. Even if we ship the goods back, it will be difficult to sell them. We don't want to do it. Whoever wants to do it can go and tell them." After he finished speaking, someone beside him also felt the same and agreed with his opinion, saying, "That is indeed the case. Although they have written it, when the time comes, they will write a contract and give us a portion of the 3 workshops. When the time comes, we will divide the profits according to the agreed upon amount. But if they build a few more workshops and ship their goods to the workshops over there, when our goods are shipped to the workshops over there, won't it be our goods that let them make money while their goods are all theirs?" "Yes, that's right. They can't be trusted. If we want to go by sea, can't we build our own boats? It's just that we don't know the details. Why don't we pretend that we want to work with them and ask for the details? When the time comes, we will work hard to build a big boat. If we don't agree to work with them, they can't say anything. Besides, we are preparing to deal with them now. If we agree and then attack them, how will the other merchants view us?" Another person chimed in from the side. Now, there were even more people who felt that it was impossible. Mi Fan was indeed tempted. Compared to Jing Shui, shipping seemed to be more profitable. Just 1 trip and she would be able to work in Jing Shui for 8 to 10 years. Now that he heard others say this, he also hesitated and didn't know how to choose. "Brother Wei Tong, don't think about that. Think about how to deal with the Zhang family. We can do that ourselves. Let's wait at Lin Shui's first shop and ask them clearly. Then we can discuss it. When the time comes, we will turn hostile. What can they do?" Guoren suddenly spoke at this time. He snatched the letter and casually folded it before stuffing it into the envelope. Mi Fan saw that so many people were against it. Wei Wei nodded. "Fine, then let's think about how to deal with the Zhang family. When the time comes, we will go and take a look ourselves. Let's build a big boat first. We must build it well. Otherwise, when we enter the sea, we won't be able to withstand the wind and waves." Everyone was afraid that he would agree to the Zhang family. That would make things difficult. Hearing that he agreed, they would first deceive the Zhang family, then turn to deal with the Zhang family. Then they would snatch the business in the sea. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. "Let the boat go faster. When we see little Luo Shui, we will see if we can stop some people who are transporting wheat. Our boat is loaded with tens of thousands of strings of coins. We can't make this trip for nothing. No matter what, we have to collect some wheat and go back to see the market." Mi Fan didn't want to think about the cooperation anymore. He ordered the boat to speed up. As the shouts spread, the people rowing the boat began to exert force. The heavy boat was rowed to about the same speed as the other small boats. Everyone prepared to rest for a while and entered the cabin. Before Mi Fan entered, she stood at the entrance of the cabin and looked in the direction of the Zhang family. Then she shook her head and lowered her head to enter the cabin. At the end she was muttering. Chapter 351. Huayuan County was different from Sanshui County. At this time they were harvesting wheat. The winter wheat had already grown, but the work in the mountains was not done yet. Most of the people who had land could only go back to harvest. However, the work in the county could not be left undone. Zhang Zhong originally wanted to ask the Yamen in Sanshui County to release a notice to ask the people in Sanshui County to come and work. However, he was stopped by Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao did not feel that it was better to ask the people in Sanshui County to come and work than other counties. The work in Huayuan County was considered basic construction and could not directly generate economic benefits. If the people in Sanshui County came to work, no matter how much they ate and drank, the money they spent could not compare to the wages they paid. It was not a form of domestic sales to stimulate the economy. If the people in Sanshui County earned money for nothing, the people in Sanshui County would not come to live in Huayuan County. Sanshui County was better than the current Huayuan County. It was better for the people in Sanshui County, but the promotion in Huayuan County was slower. Zhang Xiaobao asked his father to find people to spread the news in other counties that Huayuan County lacked people to work. There were places like Hunan Province, where the wheat was harvested early and they were planting other crops. There should be people who were free. In the surrounding counties there were also people who were free. He called them over and asked them to build. During the construction process, he kept talking to them about how good Huayuan County would be after the construction and how much money they could earn by living here. When they finished building, there would naturally be some people who liked Huayuan County and were willing to live here. Especially those who did not have land, it was easy for them to go anywhere. Since it was close to the capital, there was coal, and the transportation was convenient. Huayuan County should not become an agricultural county. It should exist as a processing and auxiliary place. When Zhang Zhong heard his son's words, he felt that it was reasonable. On the same day, he asked people to spread the news in the surrounding counties. At this time there were already 500 people from the surrounding counties who came. Some even brought their families and prepared to live in Huayuan County. Zhang Zhong divided the people into two groups. One group went to repair the road near the docks while the other group went to repair the mountain. When outsiders came to the county, some of their needs increased. Even if these people were not very rich and spent less money, they were still spending money. Zhang Zhong paid them their wages every day. In addition to the consumption driven by these people, there were also merchants who wanted to do business here. When they sold goods, they needed transportation, food, and a shop. They were also a part of the consumer group. When they brought in taxes to the county, they also increased the demand for some goods in Huayuan County. The middlemen at the docks considered the matter at Little Luoshui. Some of the merchants who were transporting goods felt that it was not worth it to continue moving forward. Coincidentally, Huayuan County also needed goods, so they directly transported goods from the docks to the county. The number of people in Huayuan County suddenly increased, making it seem more prosperous. The law and order here was not like in Sanshui County. There were always people who wanted to do something were caught, locked up, and then released to help repair roads elsewhere. Moreover, they were not paid. It was not easy for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to walk around the streets now. Their families were afraid that something would happen to them if the streets were chaotic. Now, both families had moved to a place behind the Yamen to live. Fortunately, there were many courtyards and there were still some people in Sanshui County. Otherwise, it would not be able to fit them. Today, Zhang Zhong wanted to go out and have a look. In the morning, other than some official business, he also closed 2 cases. Basically, there was nothing important in the afternoon. Unless there was a death or an emergency, he would postpone it until the next day. Zhang Zhong went out with the bodyguards and Yamen runners. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan found an opportunity to follow Zhang Zhong out. With so many people protecting them, there was no need to worry. The Yamen runners were on the periphery, and the bodyguards were in front. There were some new faces among the Yamen runners. Since Huayuan County received 80,000 strings of coins, they recruited more than 200 Yamen runners at one time. Together with the original number, they were short of 300 people. They also bought some horses one after another. and less than half of them could ride on them to patrol. As for the newly recruited yamen runners who did not have horses, they could not be idle. Other than patrolling in shifts in the county, they had to train in the field that was set up by the yamen. At this time, the yamen runner who was walking on the periphery was a newly recruited yamen runner. He looked around vigilantly, as if everyone could hurt the county magistrate. It was obvious that he was a newcomer, and the old man would not be so obvious. Wang Wan felt the changes in the county and asked Zhang Xiaobao, who was a little absent-minded. Beside her, Xiaobao, Huayuan County has finished harvesting the winter wheat this time. Do you still want to continue planting the same as before? Zhang Xiaobao now had too many things to consider, including what Wang Wan was talking about. After being touched by Wang Wan, he raised his head, thought carefully and said, "Let's plant some vegetables." Vegetables are not valuable elsewhere, but they can still be sold for a good price in the capital. Plant some cucumbers, eggplants, and other vegetables. We also need to plant many kinds of radishes. We can dry them in the shade and keep them for winter. We can't always rely on the same method of planting vegetables in winter. Wang Wan thought carefully and agreed. The capital was close to this place and there was a large population. The consumption of vegetables every day was not small. It would take a long time to come back from the capital, but it would be faster to pull the vegetables over. There was no need to worry about the freshness of the vegetables. Bad vegetables could be fed to pigs and chickens. That's good. Then we have to send out the notice quickly. Otherwise they will plant other things. After talking about this matter, the two of them continued walking. Wang Wan asked again, "They haven't done anything yet. We can't always be on guard, right? There are thieves for 1,000 days, but there is no such thing as guarding against thieves for 1,000 days. No, we still have to wait. We have already sent a letter of goodwill. Let's see what they will do. If they really live in the first family in Linshui for 2 days, we will send someone to talk to them. First, we will discuss whether we can cooperate. If they can, we will sign the document and tell them some details. If they don't want to sign the document first, we will directly tell them the details we have prepared and let them play." Zhang Xiaobao did not seem to care much about the things over there. Usually he was like this when he arranged things. Wang Wan pursed her lips and smiled. She hoped that those people would not agree to sign the document first. They must want to cheat the details and do it themselves. Then she would see what they would do with the details. She had seen it herself. If she did not have some experience in this area, she would have been cheated. Zhang Xiaobao was too bad. The two of them spoke in a low voice. There were many people in the county, so it was noisy and no one could hear them. Only Zhang San saw the two children talking there and knew that what they were talking about was not a small matter. She took her son's little hand and said to the two of them, "When next year comes, we will have to repair the shops on both sides of the county. Some of them are so old that they can be blown down by a little wind. Tell me, how should we repair them?" Pedestrian street. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan thought of this at the same time. Now on the street, there were people driving carriages and people riding horses. It was too dangerous and smelly. In the future, they would let them take other roads and leave this place for people to stroll around. In particular, Zhang Xiaobao wanted to open a small supermarket here. As long as people strolled in, they would have a certain desire to buy something. Looking at his father's puzzled eyes, Zhang Xiaobao said, "It's a place where carriages and horses don't go. What if someone gets hit?" "Oh, that's fine." Zhang Zhong knew that his son couldn't say much at this time. He would ask about the future arrangements when he got home. Now he just needed to know that they didn't go by carriages and horses. The group kept walking. As they walked, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly said, "Let's go back and write a letter to the people of the boat company. Let's give them another chance and let them take the initiative." "Well, let's do it." Only Wang Wan heard this and said that she wanted to go back. When Zhang Zhong was puzzled, he saw his son winking at him. He didn't hesitate to turn around and take people back to the yamen. After a few words with his son, he wrote a letter and asked someone to send it to the little Luoshui wharf. When the stars and moon rose, the people of the boat company also arrived at the first restaurant in Linshui. Looking at the bustling scene here, they were angry again. The more prosperous this place was, the more business they would get. The group went up to the third floor of the restaurant and chose the room that had a clear view of the wharf and the shops on the shore. They ordered a table full of dishes and ate as they looked. They looked at the dishes more often and were in a daze more often. However, they rarely ate. Occasionally, they would raise their cups and take a sip of wine. Basically, they didn't have much to say. When it was midnight, Guoren finally couldn't take this kind of depressing atmosphere. The wharf below was lit up with lanterns, and there were still boats stopping occasionally. People were coming and going. For people who knew the business, this was money. Brother Wei Tong, hurry up and think of something. Last year, this place wasn't connected to the capital, so we could still bear with it. Now look, it's midnight and it's still so busy. How much money have we lost? Guoren couldn't take it anymore. He threw his chopsticks on the table and stopped eating. He sat there and looked down. His expression also changed. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but no one said it out loud. Now that Guoren mentioned it, they all gave ideas. Everyone thought about it and felt that it wasn't suitable. Another one was still not suitable. When they were almost done, everyone was helpless. They could only look at Mi Fan. He had a lot of ideas. Mi Fan was also worried now. He didn't know how to deal with the Zhang family. He couldn't even think about using force. It was also useless to use people from the government. Just as he was worrying, the door was knocked open by a waiter. He came in and said respectfully, "Everyone, the Zhang family has sent a letter to everyone. I wonder if everyone is willing to accept it?" Everyone was stunned. They had just sent a letter in the morning, and now there was another one. Did they regret what they did in the morning? Let me see. Guoren extended his hand. Give it to me. When the waiter came closer, Mi Fan took the letter and opened it. She suddenly burst out laughing. After the waiter left, he said to everyone, "There's a way. The Zhang family still wants to cooperate with us in other areas, but they wrote out the most important thing. Ha ha ha. Chapter 352. The sun shone through the clouds, and the mountains in the distance were enchanting. The smoke from the chimney accompanied the crowing of the rooster, and the sky cleared up early after the rain. Early in the morning, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan begged their family to bring along 10 guards from the prince's mansion, as well as the former bailiffs who were chased away because of disobedience. These bailiffs were obviously better than the ones who stayed behind, and they were more serious in their work. Because of this, they were chased away. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan adopted the principle of using capable people. Those who were not of good quality could be helped to improve, and those who were too rigid would be used where rigidity was needed. A group of people rode on horses and jogged to Yawang Mountain, which was officially named. Some of the local people who didn't need to harvest wheat, and those who came from other places were continuing to build roads on the mountain. The old people who couldn't do heavy work were also busy weaving baskets. These baskets were originally made by the old people of their own accord. After all, they were eating together. Zhang Zhong still spent money to buy them. He was fast at weaving baskets a day, but he only made 2 or 3 baskets. He bought one for 1 copper coin each. There was a person who specifically counted baskets on the side. He didn't even check if the baskets were solid or not. There was no need to check. The old people didn't weave baskets for money, and the ones doing the work were their relatives. If something happened because the baskets were not good, the unlucky ones would be their relatives. They ate well here, but there were some old people who felt bad and always falsely reported the number. They made up 3 baskets and insisted that it was 2. One of the baskets had already been counted, and the person who counted them watched them like they were thieves. It was absolutely impossible to underreport. Therefore, there were often disputes over whether a basket was counted or not. It was very strange. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came, there was a time when the person who was the fastest at weaving baskets was usually able to weave 4 baskets a day. After weaving a few more baskets every day these days, he actually sent 7 baskets and asked the person to count 4. The person who counted them was not a fool and insisted on counting 7 baskets. The old man was unwilling, saying that he used to weave 4 baskets a day. How could he possibly weave 7 baskets? They began to argue with each other. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan understood the situation, they were dumbfounded. The world was so big, nothing was too strange. Xiao Bao, why does it look a bit like the gentleman's country? Wang Wan looked at the two people arguing and said to Zhang Xiaobao with a smile. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan blankly. What's Mirror Flower Fate? It's a novel. It says that a person goes to a certain place and sees different things. The country of gentlemen eats one of them. The people there buy and sell. The seller will give the best goods for the least amount of money. The buyer will take the worst goods for the highest price. At first, I only thought that this was a novel full of loopholes and did not match reality. Today I saw that this kind of thing really exists. The people want to give in, but the officials are not willing. If the people and officials of the Great Tang can be like this, if they are more united and diligent in martial arts, then the entire world will belong to the Great Tang. Wang Wan looked at the two people pulling at each other as if they were fighting. They were fighting for 3 more baskets and 3 less baskets. Zhang Xiaobao also smiled. If that's the case, society will never improve. Only competition can lead to development. It's just human nature. People who can do this show that they know what the 8 ends are. Filial piety, friendship, loyalty, trust, propriety, righteousness, integrity, and shame. The things that the people can do, the officials who are knowledgeable may not be able to do. There should be a difference between internal and external. Look at the dishes for lunch today. Wang Wan sighed and pulled Zhang Xiaobao to the kitchen. The two of them did not want to care about the dispute. They just treated it as a kind of entertainment. Otherwise, their days would be too dull. Before the two of them got close, a strong smell of cucumber entered their nose. When they smelled it again, it was still the smell of cucumber. When they got closer, there were also chives, bamboo shoots, and a small amount of eggs. Looking at the staple food, it was some millet. From the color, it could be seen that it was old rice. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan immediately frowned. The vegetables looked good, but at this time, the cucumbers had already been harvested. It was the time when they were the least valuable. It was not a big deal to eat these usually, but now it was time to do heavy work. Eating only vegetables and some eggs could not make up for the consumption of the body. Every day the food was arranged. There was meat and vegetables. Where did the meat go? Zhang Xiaobao's face darkened. He gave Erniu a look. Erniu understood and immediately shouted, "Where is the person in charge? Come here." Here. Are you looking for me?" The person in charge was chatting with the basket weaver. When he heard the call, he ran over and asked, "I'm looking for you. Where is the meat?" Erniu pointed to the place where the dishes were being cooked. The person in charge knew Erniu's identity and thought that something big had happened. Seeing that it was this person who asked, he was relieved and replied, "The meat was fried when it was delivered in the morning. It was placed in the jar next to it. It was waiting to be eaten in the evening and at midnight." I also plan to do so. Moreover, rowing the boat back and forth on the lake and setting up some herbal medicine stalls by the lake is also a long-term income. Let the local people do it. Zhang Xiaobao also thought that it should be so. In the future, if they raised some fish in the lake, they could fish when they had nothing to do. Tourists would like it more. When they cooked the fish, they could let people add some herbs and make a medicinal diet which could promote Yawang Mountain. While the two of them were talking, one of the workers accidentally stepped on air and fell from a steep place. While everyone was shocked, he hung in the air again. The person in charge patted his chest. Without waiting for the little ancestor to ask curiously, he took the initiative and said, "Those who work in dangerous places will have a rope tied to their bodies. Even if they accidentally fall, they are not afraid." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew this. They were the ones who suggested it. Human life was more important than heaven. The man was pulled up and went down. He squatted by the river and washed the mud off his body and the wounds he had just made. Finally, he wiped his face with water and looked at the people around him with a smile. He said, "It's okay. I feel much better after washing up." After he finished speaking, he stood up and went back to work. The others laughed and made fun of him. Some of the people who were sweating also came over to wash up. They scooped up the water in their hands and splashed it directly on their bodies. With a little rub, the mud balls were knocked off and bounced into the water. With someone taking the lead, the others also came to wash. The water, which was originally clear, became muddy after they washed. In addition to the mud and sand when they washed, they were too dirty. This kind of behavior was naturally not lazy. In the cool weather they worked faster. Zhang Xiaobao looked and suddenly said to Wang Wan, "I know what to do. Even if I sleep less, it can relieve fatigue." Chapter 353. Wang Wan was also thinking of ways to improve the lives of the people working. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao say this, she immediately widened her eyes and waited for him to tell her. "It's Yaowang Mountain. We can't lack medicine. It's not Huaqing Pool. There's no hot spring. We can make a pool for them to bathe in. We don't know what Chinese medicine to put in, but someone will." When Zhang Xiaobao saw others bathing, he thought of bathing in the pool. Not only could they wash off the dust on their bodies, but they could also relieve fatigue. They could also apply some Chinese medicine to disinfect and treat some diseases. "Yes, that's right. Xiaobao, you're right. Let's build a bathhouse for them and massage each other. Their fatigue will be reduced by a lot. Immediately go back and ask your father to fork out money from the Yaman's account." When Wang Wan heard Zhang Xiaobao's idea, she immediately agreed. In the future, they would look around to see if there were any hot springs. There should be many hot springs around. In a place like Shaanxi, as long as they dug deep enough, they would be able to find hot springs. Because of the geology, they could also build one at home. The sauna that was mentioned a while ago had not been built yet. They used the Mai Fan stone to build one at home. It was the same on the other side of the mountain. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "We can't use the county's money. We'll fork out the money. First, we'll try to build a few at the foot of the mountain and let people think about it. When the time comes, we'll build it on the mountain. If the yamen is built, who will earn the money in the end? We also need to find a professional for the massage. Let's practice on the people who are working first. When the time comes, we can also charge for it." So that's how it is. Then in the future, we can't just build big ponds, we have to build small ones. Each person has a different position. The higher the status, the more money we pay, and the better the ponds. "Xiaobao, what you're doing is immoral. You're making people use the workers to practice." Wang Wan agreed to the first part, but she was a little conflicted about the second part. How is it immoral? Isn't it the same if they massage each other? Find those doctors or medical students to do this. The doctors can also do scraping, cupping, and acupuncture. When they aren't confident, let the doctors and medical students do it first. To them, their excuse was to study medicine. Wasn't it good to have someone to let them experiment? He could teach his disciples, and in the process, he could discover some diseases in the living people. When treating them, the yamen would take care of the medicine, and it would be beneficial to the people who worked. When he went up the mountain in the future, he would let them take care of him. They would provide him with a bath, a massage, and cupping. It wouldn't be expensive to charge 100 copper coins for a set, right? If we sell some medicine, it will probably be a source of income. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of the doctors at the docks. There would be more of them coming. Wang Wan was no longer conflicted. It was indeed the case. It didn't matter who pressed. Under the guidance of others, it was much better than these people pressing each other. They must have pressed where they were sore and were not professional enough. Thinking of doctors, Wang Wan also thought of the inheritance of medical skills. Now, most people were learning by hand. This was a little slow for medical skills to spread. She nudged Zhang Xiaobao. "Should we print some of Sun Simiao's books? We can give them to the doctors for free, but they have to help us do something." "I think this is a good idea. We don't need movable type. We can just let people carve plates. We can print more at one time and collect all of Sun Simiao's books. In the future, we still need movable type. Otherwise, we can't afford to carve them. If there is someone with high medical skills and comments something, we can't carve it again and again. Movable type is good. Let's make a mold first and reprint it again and again. We can leave more for reprinting. When the lead is melted, we can pour it in. We can make the words bigger so that the ink is not good and it is tiring to dip the ink." Zhang Xiaobao also agreed to print. It was too tiring to just copy by hand. It couldn't satisfy the doctors who came. At first they wanted to carve plates, but later they felt that they should use movable type. Wang Wan reached out and pinched Zhang Xiaobao's face. You are usually very smart. Why are you so confused now? Who said that you can't add comments to the plates? The original plates can be used, right? Can't you just carve another plate with comments? Put the two plates together and make the paper bigger. Then it will be the original book with comments. It is not easy to study movable type and it is tiring. You should let people think about it first and print Sun Simiao's book as soon as possible. This is a serious matter. You can't eat one mouthful and get fat. That's fine too. Let's do it. Zhang Xiaobao agreed. What do you mean by fine too? I have thought about it thoroughly. Wang Wan emphasized her ability. Those people were still working. They didn't know that because of their efforts someone thought of better benefits for them. Erniu, who was the closest to them, heard their conversation. He knew that the little young master and little young lady were kind. They were always the kind of people who were good to each other. If they were not good to each other, they would give them another chance. If they were not good to each other, they would not talk about using thunderous means. They could feel sad for a child who was not eating well, but they could also look at a person who was killed and not change their expression. When he talked with his master, he mentioned that officials could give him some benefits when the lives of the people under their rule were better. However, he absolutely disliked the idea of being greedy when the people were not able to eat. An official who was greedy and could let the people live a good life was better than an official who could not do anything and could only suffer together with the people. Erniu could not understand. The two were almost extreme. Yes, they were extreme. According to what the little young master and little young lady said, why would two extreme things appear in one person? Erniu, why are you in a daze? You have another mission. Go there and bring back more my fan stones. Bring more money and buy more seafood. If you can buy a place with my fan stones, that would be even better. When you find a wife in the future, we will definitely arrange a decent wedding for you. Zhang Xiaobao just called Erniu, but Erniu did not respond. If I leave, what will happen here? Erniu was a little worried as he accompanied the two little ancestors. We can't live without you. Find someone smarter in the inner court. My father is an official. Tomorrow Cuckoo and I will come out with a guard of honor. There will be 20 horse-drawn carriages with canopies and umbrellas. There will be people holding signs in front. Along the way, yellow sand will pave the road, and still water will sprinkle the streets. When the civil officials see it, they will get off the sedan chair. And when the military officials see it, they will dismount. What do you think? Zhang Xiaobao joked with Erniu. Erniu also laughed. I will be beheaded. I will leave now. Little young master and little young lady, you two be careful. This is not like Sanshui County. After talking, Erniu mounted the horse and left. Only he knew about this matter. It was impossible for others to be involved. Just like how Pomegranate was in charge of the loyal fungus, Cherries was in charge of the hatching of the chicks, and Xiaohong did not tell others about the adjustment of the feeding recipe. After Erniu left, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan continued to stroll leisurely. The road leading to the mountain had been built for more than 200 meters. Baskets of soil and stones were carried down, and some wood was carried up and nailed to the side. When the time came to pull the rope, there was no need to worry about anyone falling down. At the same time, they had to walk among the children and the elderly, listen to them chat, play with the children for a while, and ask them if they wanted to study. The two of them also carefully looked at the younger children. When they returned, they would ask their father to find someone to teach them how to take care of children and set up a kindergarten. They did not expect to learn too much, as long as they could take good care of the children. They stayed until lunchtime. Then the two of them washed their hands and prepared to eat together. For lunch there was no stew. When there was meat it was stewed. Scrambled eggs with cucumber slices, scrambled eggs with chives and sweet and sour slices. These 3 dishes were really good, but there was not enough oil. The two of them each had a bowl of small rice. They ate the dishes with extra eggs. That was the disadvantage of the small rice. It cooled down slowly, and they had to blow on it while eating. The people were already used to the county magistrate eating here. They also knew that the 2 children were not picky, and did not have the slightest restraint when eating. In the afternoon, the two of them continued to observe the terrain and prepared to repair the lake. Because Erniu went to greet them, another clever person was sent over. He was 17 years old and had been living in the main family. There were also 3 generations of his family. He usually did things quickly and did not cause trouble, so he was sent over. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also knew each other. His name was Zhang Xiangru, a man who gave a woman a name. No one knew what he was thinking at that time. As soon as Zhang Xiangru arrived, he said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "When I came, Master said that you two should go back quickly. The ship cannot be delayed." "Oh, I know. Then let's go. In fact, it's not a big deal. The purpose of life is to enjoy. When the arrangements are made, just wait. We can't think about it all day." Zhang Xiaobao stretched. He had just finished eating and was sleepy. He and Wang Wan went to the river to wash their faces and cool down. Then they rode back on the horse. A group of guards carefully followed around, afraid that the 2 little ancestors would fall asleep while riding. When the 2 of them returned to the yamen, Zhang Zhong was there dealing with the people who came to report to the yamen. It was not a big deal. The number of people who were arrested a few days ago had reached 400. Those who were not killed were all sent to the road repair site to work. After dealing with an old lady who had a lot of mice in her house and asked the adults to think of a way to get a few kittens, Zhang Zhong could finally rest for a while. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan just happened to come back. "Xiaobao, the news just came in this morning. Those people are staying in the first house in Linshui. The letter has also been delivered. What should we do next?" "I'll leave this matter to you. I still have to deal with the government affairs." Zhang Zhong called Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to the study. He decided not to care about the people on the boat. Recently there were more people coming, so there were more trivial matters. In the past, the people would think of their own ways. Now, as long as they were close to the yamen, they would come to ask. There were all kinds of things happening. Chapter 354. After the imperial examinations, all the scholars who passed were overjoyed. Those who didn't and those who wanted to take the examinations next year stayed in the capital. These people immediately caused the capital to become much more lively. After the imperial examinations, the brothels and restaurants everywhere became places they frequented. They would either drink alone or invite 3 to 5 friends to drink to their heart's content. The rich were naturally easy to deal with. They could spend as much as they wanted. However, those who didn't have a lot of money, and even those who were poor, found that if they didn't think of a way, they wouldn't be able to wait until next year. Every time this happened, there would always be people who sent invitations to the various residences. They wanted to be a teacher for the people in the residences, or at least become an advisor. However, there were too many people in the imperial examinations this year. Only a small portion of people obtained such a position. The rest of the people had no other choice but to write letters or copy books. Even more people would go to the brothels and help recite a poem or 2. They would eat and play for free. Perhaps they would even be appreciated by the brothels and be given some money. However, if the poem wasn't good, then no one would care. Those who were thin-skinned would think of a way to make a living. Those who were thick-skinned would follow beside the rich scholars and help them grind ink, pass the brush, and wait for them to finish writing before flattering them. There were also some that had nothing to do with being thick-skinned. Instead, the rich young masters would do such things for the poor people admiring talent. There were also some people who had good relationships with each other. Regardless of whether they were rich or poor, they ate, drank, and slept together. They talked about the big and small classics and talked about poetry. All of this showed the various states of life. Happiness and melancholy intertwined together. Life was just repeating these things. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao was busy dealing with the people on the boats, so he still had time to think about this matter. The Zhang family once again made their move. On Vermilion Bird Avenue, when the sun had just risen in the morning, a procession appeared. The entire procession was made up of 20 carriages. Originally, the carriages were used to carry goods, but large signs were erected on both sides. There were large words written on the signs. This wasn't for the common people who didn't know how to read, but for the scholars. As a result, the calligraphy was flamboyant and flamboyant. There were also some landscape paintings, accompanied by the sound of gongs and drums. The grand procession slowly moved from one end to the other. 20 carriages lined up in a row. It was difficult not to attract attention. The commoners were curious. Since they couldn't read, they could only ask around. Those who could read started to tell the people around them. Xiaoqing, I heard that you got into the second grade exam this time. What did you write? Read it to your auntie. It looks really good. In the capital, a female shopkeeper asked a man who was sitting by the window and eating when the procession passed by her. This man was around 25 or 26 years old. He had taken the Bright Classics examination this year and had passed. His position was a little behind, but he was still a secondary class rank 8 official. The people who knew him in the past were more respectful when they saw him. Only this female shopkeeper in the shop was the same as before. She kept calling him Xiaoqing, but he didn't feel angry at all. All these years, the money for his studies was all given by this female shopkeeper. He only had one mother at home, so he couldn't make ends meet. If it wasn't for this female shopkeeper, he wouldn't have been able to study. He would have been lucky if he didn't starve to death. He didn't want to and didn't dare to disrespect this female shopkeeper. When he heard the question, he respectfully said, "Auntie, this is prepared for some students. It's said that Huayuan County and Sanshui County are going to hold a competition and invite all the scholars from all over. They can help Huayuan County or Sanshui County. The side that wins the most will get the first prize of this competition. This prize is given to everyone. Also, everyone who gets first place will get a good prize. They will be selected one by one, just like the imperial examinations." After saying this, the man stopped and waited for the female shopkeeper's reaction. "Oh, so it's like this. Xiaoqing, are you going? What's the prize?" The female shopkeeper looked at Xiaoqing and asked. Starting from 10 days later, all the students can go by boat without spending money as long as they take out their documents. The meals for the next few days will be taken care of by the 2 counties. First, you have to tell which county you are going to help. Then you can board the boat of that county. I will ask later if I have any work to do in 10 days. If I do, I can't go. If I don't, I can go and have a look. The prize is worth a lot of money. The first place of a single person will get a set of the 4 treasures of Black Bamboo Pavilion. It costs 50 strings of silver. That's the one that everyone has. It's also a set of the 4 treasures of Black Bamboo Pavilion. However, it's the last one. It costs 50 strings of silver. Xiaoqing explained in detail. He was a little tempted. He felt that it was better to compete than to stay in the capital. It was not far away. The female shopkeeper nodded and asked again, "What else is there?" Also, the 2 counties will be recruiting teachers at the same time. It will only last until the imperial examinations next year. Depending on the professor, the teachers will get 40 to 100 strings of silver per month. The food and lodging will be taken care of by the Zhang family and Wang family in Zhuangzi. There will be meat for 1 meal every day, and there will be holidays every 10 days. Xiaoqing explained another thing. He didn't care about this, but those who couldn't make a living should consider it. The Zhang family and Wang family in Zhuangzi? Are you talking about the Zhang family and Wang family in Sanshui County? The female shopkeeper didn't pay much attention to other things, but she knew about the 2 Zhuangzi. Xiaoqing nodded. It's the 2 Zhuangzi. If it were someone else, no one would believe it. But the words of the 2 Zhuangzi are naturally not ordinary. Seems that people like me have a place to go now. No matter what, eating and sleeping is not a big problem. Xiaoqing was right. Now there were many students on the streets who had spent their money and didn't know what to do. They were preparing to work in the 2 counties. Of course, they also wanted to participate in the competition. They could choose one of the 2 opportunities. As long as they were on the right team, they would get a lot of money. To them, this was not a small sum. They could save up the money and spend this year without any worries. Next year, they would be able to take the imperial examinations again. In addition to those who wanted to find something to do, those who were rich also wanted to participate. It wasn't for the reward but fame. If people remembered them, they would have some fame in the future. Otherwise, why would they insist on treating others to a meal? They drank all day and had a splitting headache. Wasn't it just to be famous? The sound of gongs and drums was not small. Even people who had a hangover last night would be awakened by the noise as long as they were on the two sides of the Vermilion Bird Avenue. Some officials' mansions were also here. When they heard the noise outside, they asked the servants in their mansions to investigate. When they returned, they said that it was a matter of two counties and involved the Zhang family and Wang family. Many people pretended that this matter didn't happen. Only a few people complained. Some people praised this matter. These people were basically wholeheartedly devoted to the country and the people. They knew what was involved in this matter. The students who were in dire straits could finally settle down. In addition to the attention of these students, there were also some businessmen and families who lacked manpower in their mansions. The businessmen wanted to go to the competition venue to take a look. It would be better if they could sell something. If they couldn't, perhaps they could find a talented person and betroth their daughters to him. The families who lacked manpower were naturally unable to judge the number of invitations sent by so many students. They didn't look for people, not because they didn't want people, but because they didn't know how talented they were. Those invitations might have been written by others. At this time, knowing that there was going to be a competition, they sent people from their mansions. Countless students, as long as they competed, they would naturally know who was good and who wasn't. At that time they would recruit people even if it cost more. This was also the purpose that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to achieve. He wanted more people to pay attention to the two counties. He and Wang Wan had already set off. They took a boat and went to Little Luoshui. Today was the second day that those businessmen stayed in the first house near the water. Fast horses passed back and forth. After all, it would take some time, so it was better to go there in person. The two of them set off from the dock of Huayuan County. On the way to between the clouds and the water, they didn't receive much attention. But when they arrived between the clouds and the water, when the people there saw the two rice seedling flags on the boat, they directly sent a boat to welcome them. This is the real home. In this small piece of land, we finally don't have to worry. Wang Wan saw the boat coming and said with relief, "Yes, this is our home field. If we go further, the people on the boat will have less to worry about." Zhang Xiaobao also relaxed. He looked at the restaurants and waved his hand vigorously at the ships that were coming towards him. Immediately, there was a wave of greetings on the boat. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's boat joined the boat between the clouds and the water, the people in the restaurant between the clouds and the water who could see this place were all shocked. What a big show! Even the Marquis's escort boat was surrounded. There were only 2 children on the bow of a small boat, but so many people were alarmed. On the boat that greeted them, there were even managers of restaurants. Those who knew the situation could only sigh at the power of the Zhang family and Wang family here. Those who didn't know the situation asked the waiter. The waiter's answer was simple. The people on the boat were the young master and young lady of the main family. As long as they weren't stupid, they would know who the main family was. After passing the restaurant between the clouds and the water, when Zhang Xiaobao looked at his home again, he found that it was different from when he left. It was really like what he thought at the beginning. The two of them only learned about it in the letter, but they didn't see it with their own eyes. If it weren't for my father's urging, I would go back and stay for a few days and play with the children on Zhuangzi. When I move in the future, I must bring them with me. It's comfortable to look at them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't intend to keep a low profile at this time. The main family's people came here not only to show their dignity, but also to show their recognition of this place. Chapter 355. When the flag formed by the 2 rice seedlings appeared in the eyes of some of the villagers, they all ran toward the small bridge and shouted from a distance, "Stop the boat!" Following Zhang Xiaobao's order, the boat stopped right below the bridge. If it went forward a bit more, it would enter the bridge. Once the boat stopped, the people upstream and downstream who didn't know the situation all broke out in a cold sweat for the boat. They knew the rules. On the entire river, from Jingdou all the way to Dingping County, as long as you felt the boat could stop steadily, then it could stop anywhere. However, it could not stop at this small bridge. One reason was that the bridge was smaller than other bridges, and could only allow 2 boats to pass through. If one boat stopped, it would delay the boat behind it. The other reason was that it was not allowed to stop. The reason was that it was not allowed. As long as a boat slowed down a bit, there would be bailiffs on the shore who would rush over with bows and arrows, aiming at all suspicious places around them. Especially in the water, there would be people patrolling along the shore with spears. There were a few people who stopped to look at the scenery, but they were all fined and taken to the yamen of Sanshui County for questioning. In the end, they found out that they were just looking at the scenery, but they were still warned not to look at the scenery at the small bridge next time. The people on Zhuangzi understood that that position happened to be a blind spot for the hidden sentries on Zhuangzi. They couldn't see anything, so no boats were allowed to stop. They couldn't even go slower than normal. However, there was a boat that stopped today. The two children on the boat were still waving their hands, as if they didn't know the rules at all. When a boat stopped, the other boats would give way to each other and move to the other side. At this time, they were probably moving slowly, wanting to see what would happen to the two unlucky children on the boat. As expected, the bailiffs guarding this side took out their bows and rushed over on their horses. The villagers on Zhuangzi also rushed over. There was a kind-hearted person on the boat following behind. He shouted at the boat that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were on, "Hurry up and go to the front to wait for the bailiffs. Don't move. Otherwise the bailiffs will really shoot. Don't provoke them." After shouting this, he muttered, "Whose child is this? Why did he cause trouble for the adults? Alright, let's go to the yamen and talk." The other boats had the same thought. Seeing that the people on both sides had gathered together, a shocking scene appeared in front of them. First, the bailiffs put away their bows and dismounted from their horses. At the same time, the villagers who ran over did not hold any weapons in their hands and stood there respectfully. "Greetings, young master. Greetings, young lady." Their voices, which were not too different from each other, rang out beside the ears of the people on the boats. Zhang Xiaobao was still waving his arms and shouting to the villagers, "Good, my family is good. When we change places, we will take you with us." Cheers rang out from the villagers once again. The bailiffs who dismounted from their horses also stood on the shore. The person in the lead stepped forward and clasped his hands. "Song Yang, on behalf of the brothers, greets young master and young lady." "Young master, is everything okay with the master?" "Good. Last night, my father was talking about the brothers in Sanshui County. He said that if the people in Huayuan County had the ability of the bailiffs in Sanshui County, it would save him a lot of trouble and he would be more considerate." Zhang Xiaobao turned around and shouted at the bailiffs. These bailiffs didn't cheer like the villagers. They stood straight and puffed out their chests as much as they could to let the young master and young lady see their graceful bearing. Zhang Xiaobao had already winked at Zhang Xiangru many times. Unfortunately, Zhang Xiangru was not as experienced as Erniu and did not know what the young master meant. Zhang Xiaobao had no choice but to speak by himself. "Cuckoo and I are going to Little Luoshui, so we can't talk to you anymore. When we come back, we will stay here for 2 days. Farewell, young master. Farewell, young lady." A clever villager took the lead and shouted. The others, including the bailiffs, also followed suit and shouted. As Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's boat passed through the bridge, the bailiffs were arranged to ride horses and follow the boat on both sides. Those who were anxious for the two children or waiting to watch the show were all dumbfounded. Who was so arrogant? Not only did the boat stop at the small bridge, but the villager and bailiffs who came over were also so respectful. I know who they are. They are the young master and young lady of Zhang family and Wang family. No wonder. The people on one of the ships knew a little more. Thinking of the situation just now, they immediately guessed what kind of person could be treated like this. The people on the other boat suddenly realized that they were in their own home so they could stop. No one dared to say anything even if the bridge was torn down. The bailiff's reaction was not strange. The entire Sanshui County was the territory of the Zhang family and Wang family, and the bailiffs were supported by them. The people who were worried about the two children were relieved. Those who were waiting to watch the show did not dare to say anything, in case the villager and bailiffs heard them. At that time they would be the ones to be arrested. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan continued to ride the boat forward. They looked at Zhang Xiangru at the same time and felt that this newcomer was not easy to use. They did not know how long it would take for her to reach the level of Erniu. Although the boat looked shabby on the outside, the structure inside was different from other boats. The space was bigger and the water was deeper. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were ready to go in and rest, so that they could deal with the following situation. Unexpectedly, the people patrolling on the water also came over. The two boats were one in front and one behind. The bailiffs on the boats only had knives on their waists. They did not see bows and arrows. People who did not know the situation thought that these two boats did not have any fighting power. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew that the weapons on the boats were definitely illegal. No matter how high the status of Sanshui County was, it was impossible to allow the use of strong crossbows. It was a little smaller than the ones used to attack cities. It could only shoot 3-4 foot long arrows at a time, and the string was half twisted. When necessary, it could be pushed out and twisted twice. On this river, such a crossbow was almost invincible. The two boats also found the boat with the flag of 2 rice seedlings and quickly approached. When the bailiffs on the boat saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan standing at the bow of the boat, they immediately saluted as before. The person on the boat at the front asked, "Little master, little miss, where are you going?" "Let's go to Little Luoshui to have a look," Zhang Xiaobao said to Zhang Xiangru after seeing that it was useless. "Then little master and little miss, take care." The person on the boat responded. The two boats passed by the small boat one after another. Who knew that as soon as they passed by, they changed direction and followed closely behind. "Xiaobao, you have been enjoying this kind of treatment in the past, right? Do you feel very calm?" Wang Wan saw the boats behind them and asked Zhang Xiaobao. "Yes, calm. I am also calm when there is a rumbling sound. Don't you think it should be like this? I don't believe that you haven't accepted any bribes." Zhang Xiaobao also saw the two boats behind them. They were supposed to be patrolling, but at this time they were following behind to protect him. When he heard Wang Wan's question, he replied. Wang Wan thought for a while and said, "I really haven't accepted any bribes. I only accepted a cigarette and 2 fish. I couldn't eat them, so I threw them away. You can't guess what kind of cigarettes they gave me. It was a hardcover Hercules. The price was 3 yuan and 5 yuan a box. I don't smoke, so they bullied me." "A single fish? How much money is that?" "A box is 2,000 yuan and there are 10 boxes of 1 fish. That's 100,000 yuan. 1 fish is 2 eyes and 1 eye is 100,000 yuan. 2 fish is 400,000 yuan. You threw them all away? Amazing." Zhang Xiaobao also cupped his fist and said to Wang Wan. Wang Wan was stunned. "What do you mean?" "What else could it mean? If you open the box, you'll find that there are 20 rolls of 500 yuan in each box. 1 box is 10,000 yuan and 1 fish is 100,000 yuan. Starting from the gills under the eyes, there is a line of money. If I'm not wrong, the fish should be about 2 feet long. 2 fish means 400,000 yuan for you. What's the case? What kind of case is this?" Zhang Xiaobao knew a lot about this. 100 years ago, he gave 100 yuan as a gift. Later on, it was 500 yuan each. He gave them as cigarettes. It was a very old method, but it was usually very useful. For example, filling a bottle of erguotu with maotai was a national banquet. Unfortunately, they met a special person and threw them away. When checking whether the fish was bad or not, why didn't they check the eyes and break the gills? Wang Wan finally understood. "I know what is going on. But they are fine. Why did they give me gifts? And so expensive? Isn't it up to you whether they are fine or not? How would they know? Fortunately, you accepted them." If you didn't, someone might have a heart attack. Just like the boat behind us, if you ask them to go back now, they might not be able to recover for a few days or even longer. They will always think that the Zhang family and Wang family are not satisfied with them. Zhang Xiaobao told Wang Wan about this psychological need and comfort. "I understand now. So that's how it is. It seems that sometimes accepting gifts is also helping others, right? No wonder they accepted so much money from us. Turns out that they are helping us." The people Wang Wan was referring to were those who had been with Zhang Zhong when he was taking the imperial examination. Zhang Xiaobao just smiled at this and didn't say anything. The boat continued to move forward. After a while, they encountered 2 patrol boats. The 2 boats behind immediately turned around and headed in the direction between the clouds and the water. These 2 boats seemed to have contacted the boat that left. After passing by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's boat, They also turned around and followed behind. Wang Wan didn't say anything at this time. Since others wanted to get a kind of recognition, she would give it to them. Zhang Xiaobao yawned and went into the cabin first. Wang Wan looked around and followed him. Xiaobao, do you think they will really do what you said? Wang Wan saw Zhang Xiaobao lying on the blanket. She moved 2 pillows over and threw one to Zhang Xiaobao. Chapter 356. The first house in Lin Shui. The ship merchants were still in the room where they ate the day before. It was not because they were rich. Even if they were rich, they still had to line up to get a room on the 4th floor of the first house in Lin Shui. It was because between the clouds and the water had attracted too many people recently, causing some people here to be unable to afford the rooms on the 4th floor of the first house. Don't be fooled by the fact that the merchants of the ship seemed to be rich and overbearing. When it came to small amounts of money, they would never relax, even to the point where it would make people's hair stand on end. When they used this room, they calculated the price of the food and the price of the time. When they ate, they would definitely be stuck until the last quarter. As long as they finished eating, they would not continue to take care of the room. When other rich people came, they would directly pay for a day or even half a month. According to the amount of 500 copper coins per hour, even if they did not come, the room would still be reserved for them. The ship merchants would take the room if they had it, but not if they did not. They would definitely not pay when they did not eat. At this time, they were very lucky to meet a time when they were not willing to spend money and eat in this room. Brother Weitong, should we wait for them to finish talking and then block the waterway from the Jing River to the Luoshui River? The little Luoshui River also uses the Luoshui River. It's good to settle there. They still want to do things with us. They want us to stop the big boat there and then let the small boat transport it. They also want us to discuss with the people of Luochuan County and jointly build a pier there. Are they stupid? If we just block the place where the Jing River enters the Luoshui River, what can they do? Guoren seemed to have drunk some wine before coming here. When he spoke, his tongue was not straight. It was awkward no matter how one listened to it. Fortunately, his mind was still clear. Mi Fan's face was gloomy. He naturally knew where Guoren went. It was the only brothel behind the little Luoshui pier. That brothel was opened by a person in the capital. Even the most ordinary woman would cost 5 strings of money a night. Some of them sold their skills but not their bodies. No amount of money could buy them, and they also covered their faces with veils. It was said that the rent of this brothel was 20 times higher than other places. All the food and drinks had to be prepared by the first brothel in Lin Shui. Similarly, the price was 20 times higher. Otherwise, they could just sit there and chat with the veiled women or listen to music. No one would do that. There was a pile of food in front of a girl. She could eat a little when she was resting. She couldn't afford to give you a cup of plain water. It seemed that Guoren had spent a lot of money today. A few dozen copper coins to listen to a new song was not considered little. A few hundred copper coins to chat with a beauty and listen to the sound of the zither was also not considered much. Brother Weitong, just say the word and we will immediately go and block that place. I don't believe that 60 ships of sand and stones can't block that waterway. Guoren was still thinking about the good things. When Mi Fan received the letter the night before, he told them the contents. The Zhang family would work with Luochuan County, Dingping County, and their shipping company to build a pier in Dingping. It would be convenient for large ships to transfer to small ships, and small ships to large ships. At the beginning, no one would have thought that this could be done. When the time came, both sides would earn money. When they transferred, they didn't need to use the same merchant or the same type of goods. The large ships would receive goods along the way. When they reached Dingping County, they would start to distribute the goods to the small ships. This way the journey would be shorter. They wouldn't have to wait for the goods to come to the capital to earn money. They just had to transport goods from Chuanshu all the way back and they could earn a sum. After all, the return journey was against the current. It was too tiring for the large ships to travel. If they didn't load the goods in the capital, they would lose money. With the small ships in Dingping to receive goods, not only would they not lose money, but they could also earn a little more. The route would be divided into segments and there wouldn't be a shortage of goods. However, this idea was sent by the Zhang family. Now, the shipping company wanted to pressure the Zhang family. Therefore, no matter how good the idea was, it could only be used to deal with the Zhang family. The small river could earn money because it connected the capital and Chuanshu. As long as the diversion point in Dingping County was blocked, the goods from the capital could only be transported to Luochuan County. This was also the place called the Luoshui. If they cut them off, everything would be solved. They would turn their cooperation into a conspiracy. These people were more excited. At this time, after hearing Guoren's words, they also felt that it was feasible. The idea of cutting off the trade route was suggested by Mi Fan. However, Mi Fan would never have thought that they would be prepared to cut it off like this. Looking at Guoren's excited gaze in front of her, Mi Fan finally couldn't hold it in and said loudly, "Good idea. Using dozens of ships to block the Luoshui River. In a few days, our heads will be cut off to block the Luoshui River. Does the Jingshui River belong to us? We can block it if we want to. Then why don't we pool together the ships of our families and make 100 ships, fill them with sand and stones, send them to the canal, and sink them to block the waterway to the capital. That way, the transportation to the capital will be useless, and the grain won't be able to enter the capital. Even the emperor will be afraid of us. Don't you think so?" When everyone heard this, they didn't make a sound. Only now did they think about how the two counties and prefectures would react if they blocked the canal. Even if they had a few heads, it wouldn't be enough to chop them off. For the sake of one Zhang family, they would harm the common people. Even if the Zhang family didn't do anything, there would be many people who would do it. If they handed in a memorial, the emperor would see it. With just a word, the princes in the prefectures would confiscate their families. Although Guoren's body wasn't easy to control, his mind was still clear. When he heard this, he asked, "Brother Weitong, didn't you say the waterway would be blocked the night before? If we don't sink the ships, what else can we do?" The other merchants also looked at Mi Fan. Mi Fan felt a bit sad that she had to work with a group of idiots. However, these people did listen to her, so she could only say, "Those who come from Chuanshu don't dare to take the dangerous route. It's only because they haven't reached Chuanshu that small boats can pass through. In Dingping County, when you enter the Luo River, don't you know how fast the current is? If you use an oar when a wave comes, all your strength will be wasted. If you use a bamboo pole, you won't be able to reach the bottom of the water. Don't their small boats rely on the trackers from that corner to pull them? Send 3 large ships over. As long as they anchor there, say that the ships are broken and can't move, their small boats won't be able to be pulled by the trackers. They will need to go around our large ships. It's already a fast current, and now it's blocked by 3 ships. Which small boat do you think will be able to pass?" That's right. As long as a small boat wants to pass, it'll happen to meet the 3 large ships blocking the slanting current. One boat will capsize. We didn't do it on purpose. It's the large ships that are broken. After a few boats capsize, we'll send a few large ships and leave 3 ships there. We'll say that there's a problem. Even if they don't want to, they'll have to hold on. Only those who have rowed for decades are willing to give it a try. Others won't be able to do it. How many people can they find? 1 in 100. It's a good idea. When a merchant heard Mi Fan's words, he also thought of this point and started to flatter her. When the others heard this merchant's words, they also understood the reasoning behind it. They all agreed. Mi Fan felt a bit helpless. How could no one think of such a simple thing? They were even prepared to sink the ships to block the entrance. She sighed to herself and said, "This matter isn't urgent. We'll talk about it after we ask them about the details of the sea route." The merchants once again banded together, and one by one, they began to talk about how to deceive. The more Mi Fan heard, the stronger her fear became. Even when she mentioned using a boat to divert the small boats, she felt the same way. This plan was perfect. She didn't know where it went wrong. Could it be that the Marquis shipyard could make small boats that were not afraid of such things? Unless they ate deep water. But if they ate deep water, they wouldn't be able to cross the river. As long as she thought of this, she felt a bit upset. She couldn't help but say, "Actually, the Zhang family's plan of switching from large to small boats will make us more money than before. Why don't you think about it?" "What's there to think about? If they don't die, we will. So many pairs of eyes are watching us. If we really lose face, will we still do business in the future? Brother Weitong, you overestimate the Zhang family. This is a matter on the water. They don't understand. They only know how to farm and raise chickens. How would they know the dangers on the water? Guoren poured himself a cup of wine and drank it again. His eyes were glazed over, but his words received the agreement of the other merchants. They were indeed afraid of the Zhang family's manner, but that was on land. They didn't dare to interfere with some of the transactions. But when it came to the water, it was not as simple as imagined. No matter how powerful the Zhang family was, could they naturally understand things in the water? Then they wouldn't have to manage a small river. Mi Fan looked at the gazes of the merchants that were looking at him one by one. Finally he compromised, even though he felt like his heart was being tightly grasped by someone. He had never been in such a situation before. In the past, when there was danger, he just felt uncomfortable. This time he found it difficult to even breathe. What is it? What other tricks does the Zhang family have? Why is it like this? It's worse than dying. Could it be that the whole family is exterminated? The Zhang family really has this ability. He just has a top scholar and knows a marquis. Why does his chest hurt? Mi Fan pressed his hands to his chest. He valued his body's reaction very much. In the past, when he encountered things, he only felt a little uncomfortable. Every time he made the decision to hide, he would go to the temple or Taoist temple and receive good news. But this time was different. He felt like he was going to die immediately. Those merchants didn't know how uncomfortable Mi Fan was. They were still fantasizing about forcing the Zhang family to beg for mercy and be as obedient as dogs. Chapter 357. When night fell, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's boat also arrived at Little Luoshui's pier. The two of them slept comfortably, rocking on the boat as if they had returned to the cradle when they were young. Cuckoo. I suddenly thought of something. You said that in the Northeast and some other places, children sleep in cradles when they are young. As long as the cradle is gently rocked, the child inside will not cry and will sleep peacefully. Some people say that this is because they are afraid that the cat will take the child away. But I know that some people have cats and dogs at home, and those cats and dogs will stay by the side and help push the cradle. This is not the main point. What I want to say is there any difference between that kind of rocking and seasickness or carsickness? Especially ships. Why do people who are used to being rocked by cradles become seasick when they grow up? When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan got off the boat, he suddenly thought of something, so he said to Wang Wan. Of course, Wang Wan knew about this matter, especially for some families who raised monkeys. Their children were all taken care of by monkeys. When the children were placed in the cradle, the monkeys would help to drive away mosquitoes while pushing the cradle. Their strength was neither too light nor too heavy. There were even milk bottles that were warmed and warmed. The monkeys would even help to feed the children. According to the theory of seasickness, the children would have vomited long ago, and it was impossible for them to sleep so peacefully. What was the reason for all this? Looking at Zhang Xiaobao's eyes, Wang Wan shook her head and said, I really don't know. Do you know? I don't know much about it either, but you should be able to find out that the younger the child, the worse their bones and muscles are. But every time they fall, they will cry because of scratches, but it is very rare for them to break bones. If they are short, then if they fall from a height of 1.5 meters, the probability of them dying is definitely lower than that of an adult. Also, you can try to put a baby on calm water. If you put an adult who can't swim on calm water, the baby's survival rate is higher than that of an adult. There's also a simple example. When a baby under half-a-year-old cries, it's very rare for him to lose his voice from crying. Even if he cries for a few hours, if you ask an adult, how many of them won't lose their voice? Zhang Xiaobao continued to talk about the comparison between a baby and an adult. Wang Wan was confused. Some of what Xiaobao said was true. Especially when a baby cried, it could be heard very clearly from a distance. If it were an adult, it wouldn't take too long for them to stop crying if they wanted to have the same effect. Xiaobao, is it related to the recovery speed of the body? Wang Wan asked. No, if you give the poison milk powder to the babies and the adults will be fine, but the babies are basically done for. Actually, what I want to say is, why can I jump from such a high place and be fine? And why can I climb such a high place with my bare hands? Zhang Xiaobao became serious at this time. Why? Training. Wang Wan only felt that this was the right answer. No, it's regress. Babies don't have a sense of height. Even if you put him at a height of 1,000 meters, he still dares to climb down. It's like when you suddenly encounter a high-speed football head-on. You dodge backwards thinking that you're seriously injured. You face it head-on. Unless you're very unlucky and the football happens to hit your weakest point, the injury you suffer will be much smaller. What I want to say is a kind of mentality. People who sleepwalk don't care about height. Just like a baby, they may fall to their death at a certain height, but at that height, people with the same physique as them will definitely fall to their death if they jump from that height. My training is actually to make myself feel less afraid and to be able to imitate the state of sleepwalking to a certain extent. As long as my body's muscles, bones, and coordination can withstand that height, I will be safe and sound. Many people who sing are the same. They are imitating a baby's voice. The pitch is very high, and the penetrating power is very strong. Can give people a special resonance. This can be nurtured. For example, our perception of danger, judgment of targets, and the hints we give ourselves when our body reaches its limit can be nurtured. An excellent battlefield sniper can sense certain things within his or her accurate sniping range. For example, you can, "Okay, Xiaobao, I know what you mean." That is, under the same amount of effort, talent is more important than hard work in certain aspects. But what are you trying to say? Wang Wan interrupted Zhang Xiaobao and asked. What I want to say is that while we were on the ship, through the information gathered by Li Sun, I discovered a person who has a natural talent for sensing danger. He is different from us who are trained. He is born with it, and he is even more sensitive than us who are trained. His name is Mi Fan. Zhang Xiaobao finally got to the point. Wang Wan also saw the information sent by Li Sun. She thought about it and nodded. Indeed, but even if we want to kill him now, he can't avoid it. The two of us are enough. He is not as good as us. He won't use that kind of innate talent. Yes, 99% of sweat and 1% of talent is success. The most important is that 1%. Do you want to let him go? No, I want to keep him by our side like Song Jinggong, especially when we go out to sea. His talent is too important. I don't even know if I am a theist or an atheist, a materialist or an idealist. Zhang Xiaobao sighed and said, when something that a person insisted on was washed away, it was very uncomfortable in the heart. It could even cause one to lose one's sense of direction and the will to live. Although Wang Wan was a member of the system, the things that people in the system understood were the most mysterious. Xiaobao, what is materialism? I believe that materialism is science, and this science is exploration and research, not positioning. If you say that the unknown is unscientific, then your statement is unscientific. Don't be fooled by the system. Look at those buildings built by the government, and look at the rules that those officials usually follow when they do things. If you still don't understand, then think about why the great people of the past would go to draw lots before every big battle. Do you know what a unit is? What did 83441 represent? When we don't understand, we don't have to admit or deny it. We don't have the ability to explore. We just have to be ourselves. Oh Cuckoo, you are right. If souls can come, what is impossible? I want that Mi Fan. He is not Guan Yu and I am not Chow Chow. Tomorrow I will talk to them about the sea. When it's about time, I will immediately send a letter to Li Sun and ask him to prepare. Zhang Xiaobao didn't insist on things that he didn't understand. He quickly made up his mind. Wang Wan didn't understand. Xiaobao, are you confident? It's not at the same level at all. If you get Yao Chong and Song Jing here, I might put in more effort, Zhang Xiaobao said proudly. Chapter 358. The night was misty. It was summer insects outside the window. Fireflies were hanging in the sky. The night is misty, looking at the starry sky. I am looking for a star, it is so bright, it is so affectionate. Wang Wan was lying on the ground in a house behind the dock. She looked at the starry sky outside and hummed, Zhang Xiaobao didn't sleep on the couch. The ground was cooler than the couch. The mahogany floor was polished smooth and painted with a layer of lacquer. Listening to Wang Wan's humming, he felt that he had heard this song somewhere before. It seemed to be very distant. He touched Wang Wan. Is it a song from 100 years ago? Can't you choose a closer one? I learned it when I was in the military academy. I've been singing it all the time. Everyone sang it and it became popular. Do you think life should be like a star shining in the distance, or like a meteor streaking across the sky? Wang Wan was probably hot. She was lying there and discussing life with Zhang Xiaobao. I think it should be like a star, like a meteor. It should crash into the earth and then cross the sky. Zhang Xiaobao put his hand flat on the floor. You are such a person. If you die, you will drag others down. It is too hot. It will be hot even if you put ice in the house. It would be better to have an air conditioner. Wang Wan imagined what the next star that was many times bigger than the sun would be like. She shook her head to get rid of this ridiculous idea and complained about the heat. Zhang Xiaobao was also hot. There were 2 basins of ice in the house. The air circulation was slow, so he didn't feel cool. Occasionally there was a breeze from outside. It was warm. Hearing Wang Wan mention air conditioner, he suddenly said, "We don't have air conditioner. If you want to cool, you have to heat first. But we can make an air conditioner fan. It is very environmentally friendly. It doesn't use electricity or other fuel." Really? Then you should make one quickly. Not only can we use it, but also the restaurant. Then there will be more people willing to eat there. Tell me the principle and I will help you. As soon as Wang Wan thought of the cool breeze, she became interested and stopped sleeping. Zhang Xiaobao coughed and imitated the tone of a scholar. Today, I will first talk about the problem of heat transfer. As everyone knows, the existence of heat is ultimately. Get to the point. Wang Wan patted Zhang Xiaobao and hugged the bamboo pillow next to her. Actually, it's just a fan made out of wood or bamboo. In front of the fan, there's a basin filled with ice. You can ask someone to shake the fan. That way, the cold air will be blown by the wind. That's the air conditioner fan. Zhang Xiaobao felt a little embarrassed after saying that. This is your high-tech invention? Environmental protection? Then what's the point of using a fan? Wouldn't it be the same if he just used a fan to face an ice fan? Wang Wan curled her lips. Rich people didn't ask their servants to face an ice fan to cool the house. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't want to treat their servants that way. Otherwise, they could find a few more people to take turns to fan the air so that it wouldn't be so hot. Zhang Xiaobao thought for a while. It's not the same. My invention doesn't require too much effort. Using the lever principle of the mutual exchange of gears, the person who shakes the fan can make the fan turn many times. If you fan the fan, it will only move a little. Yes, just do it like that. There's no need for people. We are on a river and the wind is strong. As long as we make a fan outside some rooms and connect it from the bottom, not only will it add a special scenery, but it will also be able to blow the wind in the room through the conversion. It's better than opening the windows directly. If the wind can't blow into the room directly, it can blow in through my invention. The project is bigger and the gears are simpler. There's no need to use good steel, and there's no need to bite so well. It just needs to be able to transmit the force and drive the fan. It's not like it's generating electricity. Let them melt the molten iron and cast it directly. Yes, we can try to do this. Let's start with the first house near the river. That house is made of wood. As long as there's a hole, the connecting shaft can go in. Use a wooden board to block it and beautify it. Use wood for the shaft. If not, it's too heavy and expensive. Get up and draw the blueprint. Zhang Xiaobao was talking by himself. As he was talking, he was perfecting his idea. His drawing skills still need to be improved, so he could only call Wang Wan to wake up. Let's do it tomorrow. How much are you going to invest this time? People are used to having an ice basin in the room to cool down. Even if we don't do it, they will still come to eat. Wang Wan didn't want to move. She turned over and spread her arms on the floor. Zhang Xiaobao came over and pulled her. One night's time will be wasted. Others are used to the current situation, but we have to let them get used to our place. They won't be used to other places. I can't draw by myself. I know the principle of the lever, but I don't know how to move it. Get up quickly. I'll make shaved ice for you tomorrow. Yes, just let the people in Huayuan County make shaved ice. Let's also make shaved ice for the people in Sanshui County. We can sell it everywhere and earn more money. There's so much edible ice stored in the winter. Our own restaurant won't be able to use it up. Don't pull me. I'm up. When the academy opens, I'll go there and find a good drawing master to learn. Wang Wan got up by herself and sat beside the desk with Zhang Xiaobao. She lit another candle, and it brightened up a lot. It's going to open soon. When those students come, the academy will open. It will give the academy a free promotion. Some of the competition venues can be put in the academy. There will definitely be people joining. Only when there are students and teachers will be willing to teach. Zhang Xiaobao spread out the paper, helped Wang Wan grind the ink, and talked about the academy. I knew you wouldn't just let people come here to compete. You don't have good intentions to let people from 2 counties make shaved ice, right? Wang Wan had been used to Zhang Xiaobao's style of doing things. She muttered and began to think about the design with Zhang Xiaobao. It took 3 hours for the two of them to draw more than 10 pieces of paper. Only after adding notes and descriptions did they manage to come up with a rough idea. As for the specific adjustments, they were handed over to the craftsmen. They were very experienced, so if they were given an idea, they would be able to figure it out themselves. Zhang Xiaobao clapped his hands and said, "Okay. Send them to Zhuangzi tonight and find craftsmen to make them. Zhang Xiangru, come in." There were sounds of getting up and footsteps outside. After a while, Zhang Xiangru came in and said, "Little master, little miss, what can I do for you? Send these papers to Zhuangzi and send people to collect fruits. By the shancha left last year, especially the ones in Zhuangzi's warehouse and the ones that have just come out. Send them by the river. Put some of them at each place and send people to watch over them. Do the same with the ice, the kind that is edible." Zhang Xiaobao handed over a piece of paper and ordered Zhang Xiangru. Zhang Xiangru didn't ask more. She took the paper and turned around to leave. "You asked them to make shaved ice because you want to sell the shancha trees left last year on our newly granted land? And those fruits that are about to come down?" Wang Wan didn't want to study anymore. She pulled Zhang Xiaobao outside to take a shower and said, "That's right. How else can we sell them? Our shancha and the quality of the fruits is not good. If we do this every year, we won't have to cut down the trees anymore. Wasting resources is a shameful act. We can also sell more to the people in the 2 counties. There are many flavors and people who come to see will want to buy and try it," Zhang Xiaobao said as he walked. The next morning the weather was still hot. Fortunately, the spring plowing was over, so there was no need to worry about the drought. The people sent by Zhang Xiaobao came to the room where the shipping merchants were. They didn't manage to get a good place today. The waiter of the first shop in Linshui said that the room had been reserved by someone else. They could only change rooms. It seems that everyone has agreed to the matter of building a ship and going by sea. Let's sign the documents first and then talk about the details. The people sent by the Zhang family said solemnly to the shipping merchants. There were no dishes on the table, only some brushes, ink, paper and inkstones. Everyone looked at Mi Fan. Mi Fan didn't look well today. He kept having nightmares last night and didn't have an appetite for breakfast. He was still thinking about what kind of danger was coming. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, he took a sip of tea and said, "It's not that we can't build a ship together, but we have to know how to do it. Otherwise, what if we lose money after we do it? It's better for you to tell us the details first." "Boss me, it's like this. It's written on the documents. After you sign, if you lose money because of the details, then the Zhang family and Wang family will compensate for everything. If we tell you the details and you don't sign, then it will be difficult for us." The people from the Zhang family pushed the documents forward and said, "How can we not do it?" "Don't worry," said a merchant from the ship company next to him. Seeing that, the people from the Zhang family nodded and handed over another document. He said to everyone, "Some details are written on it. Everyone can take a look first. After you read it, don't forget to sign the documents." The owners of the shipping company looked at each other. In the end, it was Mi Fan who spoke. "If that's the case, then wait for us to read it and then ask you to come over. Can we just tell the waiter in the restaurant? The people from the Zhang family nodded and got up to put away the other things. They only left the documents that needed to be signed. He said, it's like this. If there's nothing else, then I'll leave first. After the people from the Zhang family left, the people in the room immediately showed a special smile. Brother Weitong, take a look. It's best if you make a copy. Then say that it's not done well and that we can't work with them. Guoran said excitedly as he held the paper in his hand. Mi Fan didn't know why, but when she looked at the paper, she felt that it was difficult for her to breathe. She picked up the paper with trembling hands and flipped through it one by one. The more she looked, the more she wanted to continue reading. It was as if there was something on the paper that attracted her. Brother Weitong, what do you think? Guoran asked. Good. The Zhang family is really good. If we do as they say, we can definitely make a lot of money. Unfortunately, we can't go the same way as them. Chapter 359. The person from the Zhang family came to the best room in the first house in Linshui. He said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were waiting, young master, young lady, they asked for the details. They didn't sign the document. Okay. Then go and ask Dingping about the cooperation and see what they have to say. Zhang Xiaobao was a little disappointed as he instructed. After the person left, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sighed at the same time. Looks like they really plan to be enemies with us to the end. Isn't it good to cooperate and make the business big? If they insist on scheming against each other, then let's play with them. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the busy people below and said helplessly. He felt that if he were in their shoes, he would consider cooperation. Wasn't business just for money? If they lost something in this area, they could make up for it in other areas. Turning a competitor into a partner was the best strategy. Wang Wan scooped a spoonful of shaved ice from the bowl and put it in her mouth. Don't worry about them. Let them do what they want. They're just short of people. Let Li Sun think of a way. See if he can contact the boat company on the Yellow River. After all, we have to go to the sea from there. That's all we can do. Zhang Xiaobao left the window and moved to Wang Wan's side. He also took a bite. The cool air went into his stomach, making him feel much better. In the other room, the boat merchants were still passing around the information. Anyone who could read was like Mi Fan after reading it. They were very surprised. This plan was too good. One by one they talked about building a big boat and then going to earn money. Only Mi Fan was there drinking mouthful after mouthful of sour plum juice. It was precisely because the detailed plan was done well that he was even more worried. He still didn't know who would win in the end. Looking at those excited people again, he really regretted it. Why did it turn out like this? If he had known, he wouldn't have done this with these people. Although he was obedient, he couldn't do anything at critical moments. If he cooperated with a smart person, he could at least come up with some ideas. Brother Weitong, let's arrange the matter of blocking the river. We already have the detailed plan, so we don't need to tell them anything else. Guoran came up and said to Mi Fan. Looking at his excited face, Mi Fan sighed in her heart and nodded. All right, I'll arrange it now. Send 3 ships over. The boatman will know what to do. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a knock on the door. The waiter came in first, followed by the Zhang family member who had just left. Everyone, how's it going? We're looking at it right now. When we're done, we'll look for you, a merchant said. Very well. What do you think of the other matter? It's about transporting goods between the big ships and the small ships. The Zhang family asked again. I don't think that's necessary. We don't have many big ships. If we send out some more, we won't have enough. I'm afraid we won't be able to handle it. You can transport it yourselves. Another merchant added. The Zhang family member didn't care whether they agreed or not. He just wanted to know. After listening to the 2 people, he nodded and said, Since it's like this, I'll go back first. You guys are busy. Young master, young lady, they also don't agree to hand over the goods at Dingping. The reason is that they don't have enough ships. I'm afraid they won't be able to handle it. The Zhang family member turned around and came to Zhang Xiaobao. Yes, let's get busy. Let's all work together. Wan, let's go and take a look at the artificial lake at the back. There's also a winery and a pig farm there. While others are busy, we can't be idle. Zhang Xiaobao heard this and knew it was time to take action. Since they had nothing to do, they could take a stroll. It wasn't easy for the two of them to come out. Wang Wan ate the last mouthful of shaved ice, stood up and said, "Let's go. I'm going to row a boat. When the lake at Yaowang Mountain is built, we'll row there when we're free." The two of them went out, one after the other. Zhang Zhong was also busy at this time. He recruited another 100 government runners and bought some horses. He asked them to patrol back and forth in the county. Like Sanshui County, he also bought some boats on the river and arranged the government runners on them. He himself went back and forth. "Master, there's no road ahead." Under the protection of the guards, Zhang Zhong rode on the horse and strolled around the county. At this time there was a mountain or a group of mountains in front of them. The government runner who followed him said to Zhang Zhong. This government runner was from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family. His title was different from others. Even if his household registration was in the Zhang family, he could still be a government runner. No one in Huayuan County would investigate this matter. This person was originally from Huayuan County. When he was young, he followed his father and grandfather to the Zhang family. He knew more things here. After all, he was closer to the locals when he talked. After asking around, he knew more about Huayuan County. Then he followed Zhang Zhong around. Zhang Zhong stopped the horse and looked at the mountain in front of him. It was really good. It was so majestic and so solemn. He asked the person next to him, "Are there people here?" In reply to Master, "There are. There are 2 villages here." Both of them said that their villages are called Fragrant Mountain Village. When they entered the household register, there was no choice but to record them as Big Fragrant Mountain Village and Small Fragrant Mountain Village according to the number of people. The people here don't pay taxes for food, but for animal skins. Usually they make a living by hunting. They sell the game to buy some daily necessities. Daxiang Village has more people. There are 25 households and 166 people. Xiaxiang Village has fewer people. There are 23 households and 143 people. The 2 villages usually communicate with each other. There are also marriages between the 2 villages. The Yamen runner had a very detailed understanding of the situation in the mountain. He didn't even leave out the people. Seeing that the master liked to listen, he continued, "Master, there used to be a temple here. The pilgrims would buy some fruits from the mountain. In the past 2 years there has been no one. The people in the temple have become ordinary people. The incense also stopped. Occasionally, some people would come here to take a look." "Yes." Zhang Zhong nodded and said, "Since there are still people here, I have to go and take a look. After all, I am a county magistrate. I want to see how they are living." "Master, there is no road ahead. If you want to go to the 2 villages, you have to walk on the grass. There are also wild beasts and poisonous insects in the mountain. Why don't you let the people in the village come out and take a look?" The Yamen runner was worried and tried to persuade him, even if he knew that it was useless. Sure enough, Zhang Zhong didn't care about these things. When he was walking around recently, the doctor at home had prescribed some medicine for him. There were also things prepared by the hunters in the past. He wasn't afraid of snakes and insects, let alone wild beasts. With 20 guards from the prince's mansion, even a big worm could be killed with crossbows. Or should I go and take a look myself and see how they are living? There is no lack of meat in the mountain. I think it will be good, right? Zhang Zhong was thinking about the meat of the wild beasts. If they could eat meat, their lives would be good. Unexpectedly, the Yamen runner shook his head and replied, "Master, they are the most miserable people in the county. In the past, when county magistrate one was here, they had to send many things to the county every year. When they came to sell meat, they could only sell it to one family, which was Jinlai Restaurant. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to accept it. The price given by Jinlai Restaurant is even lower than the price of pork. In the past, it was only enough to fill their stomachs. I asked around in the county. Last year, they also levied double the tax. In order to get enough fur, they went out at night. 3 people and 2 people died in the 2 villages respectively. It's good to be able to eat meat, but people can't always eat meat. They have to eat other things. Vegetables are wild vegetables. They also opened up some land next to the village and planted some vegetables. However, they have to wear clothes, eat salt, and come out to buy rice and noodles. Every year they have to come out to work dozens of days, and the rent is not reduced. I don't know how they are now. Before Master came, they changed their things once and never came out again. Zhang Zhong listened quietly. His hands unconsciously clenched into fists. He really couldn't think of how the person surnamed one could do this without caring about the lives of the people. Even when his family was not better, he wouldn't do this to the villagers. No, I can't just let it go like this. I have to submit a memorial. The person surnamed one should be cut into pieces. Get off the horse. Leave 2 yamen runners behind to watch. The rest of you bring our food and come with me. I want the people in the 2 villages to know that the change of officials is different from the original. Zhang Zhong was originally the kind of person who would let people off easily. This time he was finally angry. It was one thing for a county magistrate to be greedy for the county's money and make fake accounts, but he actually wanted to exploit the people like this. It was simply infuriating. After getting off the horse, he took out the realgar and sprinkled it on his body. He also took out a small bamboo box and took out something to apply on his face. He handed it to the people who were going to follow him into the mountains. Apply it. This is the medicine made at home. A group of 27 people began to walk into the mountains. 20 bodyguards, 6 yamen runners, and Zhang Zhong himself walked all the way into the mountains. They could vaguely see the places where people had walked before. The sun above their heads was blocked by the leaves. It was not very hot, but the heat in the woods was not easy to dissipate. It was stuffy and unbearable. Sweat seeped out from their pores and wet their clothes from the inside out. Zhang Zhong was wearing his official robes. It was even more uncomfortable. His light green robes had turned dark green. Those who didn't know would think that a 6th-rank official had come. He also grabbed the goldfish bag hanging from his waist. This could not be lost. Everything else was fine, but this was something to show his identity. Although he was a 7th-rank official, he still had a goldfish bag. This was the additional benefit of giving something and being the top scorer. Chapter 360. Zhang Zhong continued to walk forward. Sure enough, it didn't take long for a village to appear in front of him. It wasn't like he had imagined, where there were smoke curling up from the chimneys, chickens and dogs chasing each other, and children playing around. There were some fields outside the village where cucumbers and eggplants were planted. The eggplants had not yet grown, and there were a few cucumbers hanging alone. There was also a fence made of thick wood outside the village. There was some sand and stones on the road, and there were wildflowers and weeds growing on the side. A river flowed behind the village. The houses in the village were made of mud bricks, and there was some grass growing out of them. There were no children playing outside, but there was no lack of dogs barking. There were no poultry or livestock. There was no smoke coming out of the chimneys. It was already noon. Don't they eat lunch? Zhang Zhong asked the yamen runner in the inner courtyard. The yamen runner was also puzzled. Where did all the people go? He shook his head blankly. Master, I don't know. Why don't we go in and take a look? Let's wait. If there were people in the village, they would have taken a look. Now that we don't see anyone, they might have gone out. The whole village went out. What is going on? Zhang Zhong took out the monocular that Zhang Xiaobao had extorted from him and looked at the village. From time to time, he adjusted the distance between the 2 lenses of the monocular. The yamen runner looked enviously at the monocular in Zhang Zhong's hand. He had used it once and it was very useful. It could reach a distance that couldn't be seen normally. He thought for a moment and said, Master, why don't I take a few people to look around? No, wait. Take this and look at it. If you see a person, just say it. It's the same for beasts. Zhang Zhong handed the monocular to the yamen runner and found a place to sit down. He took out a water bag from his backpack and sipped it. He was now learning from his son and daughter-in-law. When he went out, he carried a specially made bag. In the county, no one would say that he didn't have good manners. There were some things that could be used at any time in the bag. It was very convenient. The bailiff excitedly took the binoculars. Under the envious gazes of the other bailiffs, he looked around. He didn't show off and didn't say much. He looked around himself. When the wind blew at some places, he stared at them for a while. The group of people waited for a full hour. Finally, the yamen runner holding the binoculars shouted excitedly, "Master, there are people. I see people. A large group. A few of them are carrying things." At his shout, Zhang Zhong stood up, took the binoculars and looked towards the northeast. He saw men, women, old and young laughing and talking as they walked over. There were two places in the crowd that were different from other places. There were a few strong people carrying wooden poles on their shoulders. From the gaps in the crowd, Zhang Zhong finally knew what they were carrying. It turned out to be two bears. It seemed that someone had hunted the bears and the whole village went to pick them up. When they got closer, he saw more clearly. The two bears were not small. Their bodies were covered with wounds. He didn't know how the people in the village hunted them. After a certain distance, the people in the village also noticed Zhang Zhong and his group. They stopped in a panic and didn't dare to come back. "Two people, go over and tell them who I am." When Zhang Zhong saw that the villagers didn't dare to come back, he ordered the person beside him. The yamen runner from the inner courtyard waved to a person behind him and ran over. The person who was waved by him didn't dare to be negligent. He knew that he was not as valued by the county magistrate as his colleague. The county magistrate was from the inner courtyard of Zhuangzi, but he still had to show off. The two of them ran in front of the villagers, one in front of the other. "Everyone, don't worry. Hurry back to the village. We are the county's yamen runners. Look at our clothes." The yamen runner from the inner courtyard said to the villagers in front of him. The villagers didn't look happy because of their arrival. Instead, they looked at them vigilantly. The older people didn't say anything, but the children didn't care. A little boy about 9 years old shouted at them, "Do you know that we hunted two bears, so you want to come and snatch them again?" The two bailiffs were stunned, especially the one who followed behind. He recalled what had happened in the past, and his expression changed. He had also come to bully the people in the village. Back then, the village had just hunted a fox, and he had helped county magistrate when snatched the fox. Today they had just brought back two bears. Suddenly, people from the yamen came again. Anyone would think that they were here to rob them again. The yamen runner from the inner courtyard had studied for a year and a half, so he knew a lot of things. He quickly said, "Don't think too much. The county magistrate of Huayuan County has been changed. The original one with the surname Wen was arrested and brought to the capital. The one with the surname Xiao was also arrested and his house was confiscated. The new county magistrate is different from the previous one. He loves the people like his own children. I heard that there are two villages here. I walked here and wanted to see how everyone is living. Our new county magistrate is very powerful. Everyone can wait to live a good life in the future." "Who are you kidding? None of the officials are good people. One left and another one came. Is it because you took a liking to another one and collected taxes for 2 years? Since you can't get anything good out of it, you're here to steal from us?" The child who spoke just now added. The two yamen runners looked at the villagers' distrustful eyes and sighed at the same time. It was still the person from the inner courtyard who said, "Whether it is true or not, what's the use of you stopping here? Don't you know the village? Let's talk about it when we are in the village, okay?" The villagers thought about it and agreed. If they stopped here, the county magistrate would not come. There were more than 20 people, and they could carry two bears. Even if they really came, what could they do? Under the guidance of the village chief, the villagers continued to carry the two bears to the village. When they arrived at the village, Zhang Zhong also led people to greet them. He did not have any official prestige. He walked out from the protection of the guards with a smile on his face and said to the leading villager, "You are amazing. You can actually hunt two bears. One bear paw can be sold for a lot of money." If he was not wearing an official's uniform, the villagers would have thought that he was an errand boy. When did an official smile at ordinary people? His smile was so sincere. Only those yamen runners knew that as long as they did not do too much, the county magistrate was very easy to talk to. He would even chat with them when he was free. But as long as they did something they should not do, such as bullying the people when they went out, they would be beaten at least 30 times with the rod. There was a doctor waiting next to them. They did not dare to be merciful even if they wanted to. Not to mention the feeling of being beaten 30 times. After the beating, they had to carry them in front of the people who bullied them for them to see. If it was a second time, they would be beaten 100 times and then driven away. There was no need for yamen runners. Until now, no one had done it a second time and no one had done it the first time. After 100 beatings, the person was dead. The villagers did not know this. Looking at Zhang Zhong's smile, they felt very comfortable. The village chief was not like other places, where the position was held by an old man. The village chief here was a man of 24 or 25 years old. He stood up and said, "You are the new county magistrate?" "Yes, I am." "Why don't you sell your 2 bears to the county? Sell them to Jinlai Restaurant." Now Jinlai Restaurant is not owned by that relative surnamed one. It is owned by my family. The price given is absolutely fair, and we can even give a little more. After all, my family has many restaurants. If we sell them in the capital, we can make more money. As Zhang Zhong spoke, he opened his backpack and took out candies from it and handed them to the child next to him. The candies were prepared for himself. When there was no food to eat, he could eat 2 pieces of candy to make up for it. The child stared at the candy but did not dare to take it. He looked timid. Zhang Zhong took the child's hand and stuffed the candy in it. "Take it. Don't worry, I will not take your things for free. I am different from that county magistrate one. My family is rich. I don't dare to say too much, but I can easily take out tens of thousands of coins. I am not afraid of not having enough money. How much are your 2 bears worth?" "My family's master is the head of Zhangzhe Zhuangzi in Sanshui County. He doesn't care about your things. My master has hundreds of restaurants and shops." At this time, the yamen runner in the inner courtyard helped to speak up. Zhang Zhong turned his head and nodded to the yamen runner with satisfaction. Some of the villagers who went to trade had heard about Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. When they came back, they told the villagers. At this time, when the villagers heard that the new county magistrate was the head of the Zhang family, they were finally not worried. The child who took the candy stuffed it into his mouth and asked without scruples, "Did you give something to your family's farmer? And build a big house for the farmer?" "Don't talk nonsense," the farmer's parents said at the same time. Zhang Zhong did not care. He nodded and said to the child, "I will not give it for free. The farmer has done a lot for the family. It is not right to not give it. Tell me, how old are you?" 8 years old. After being scolded by his parents, the child became timid and said timidly, 8 years old is not old enough. You can go to school to study. In the future, I will build a school here and find someone to teach you. Tu Zhuangzi can take care of you at the same time." Zhang Zhong thought of his son's plan. He wanted to find a person who could not pass the exam. He believed that the people who came here would not suffer too much and the villagers could take good care of them. At this time, the village chief also noticed the difference in the new county magistrate. He said, "Sir, are we still collecting taxes this year?" "Collecting taxes? Didn't you already pay this year's taxes?" "No, we will collect next year. The 2 bears are not of much use to you. Send them to Jinlai Lu. 1 bear is 100 coins. Chapter 361. The Jing River flows and the Wei River flows. The shadows of the boat struggle to reach the end, and the fish swim with the current. Near Nei Province, far Nei Province. Flags flutter in the wind, and life is full of joys and sorrows. Li Sun sat in the study of the state capital, and the sound of him reading came from his mouth. Those who didn't know would think that he was reading, but in fact he was reading a letter written to him by Zhang Xiaobao. Beside him, a servant girl was helping him pour some water, grind ink and flip through books. At this time she didn't move and just waited for the Marquis to speak. Li Sun read the letter from beginning to end and asked the servant girl, "Do you think I'm crazy? Or the people of the Jing River Boat Company are crazy?" Of course it's the people who are crazy. If they weren't, why would they provoke the Zhang family? The Zhang family's methods to deal with their enemies are endless. From the beginning they calculated and only stopped when they made people sick. The little prince is working with the Zhang family, and they still dared to stir up trouble. If they aren't crazy, then what are they? The servant girl seemed to be very familiar with Li Sun, and was not afraid at all. Li Sun reached out and pulled the servant girl into his arms, and said with a naughty smile, "My little Qingqing still knows. Come, let me teach her well." The servant girl only smiled and was not afraid at all. Instead she snuggled into Li Sun's arms and said, "The Marquis is bad, you only know how to bully Qingqing. Qingqing can only listen to the Marquis." Li Sun let go, and a helpless expression appeared on his face. "Don't listen to me, I can't do anything. Wait until I go to the Zhang family to find a prescription and grow up quickly, then I'll teach you a lesson." Then Qingqing will wait for the Marquis. The Marquis must grow up quickly. The servant girl followed. "Okay, isn't it just bullying me because I'm young? There are also two younger ones, Xiaobao and Cuckoo, who are just as anxious. Ha ha ha. Tell me, should I do as they say? This idea is too immoral. If I don't do it, their property will be confiscated. The Zhang family is really ruthless when they take action." Li Sun did not know what to do with this servant girl. She was usually obedient and sensible. Even if he wanted to take advantage of her, it was fine. But how could he take advantage of her? He could only suppress his anger. Fortunately, there were still two people. So what if they were childhood sweethearts? One day, he would ask Xiaobao to visit the brothels. The maidservant Qingqing also heard what Li Sun just said. She also thought that the Zhang family was not ordinary, but she didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Now that the Marquis asked, she said, "Naturally, we have to do as the Zhang family says." The Zhang family gave them 2 chances in a row, but they didn't agree. Compared to the Marquis, they are far worse. The Zhang family is like this. They are kind to good and evil to bad. You can just say that this Marquis was afraid at that time. Yes, I was afraid. I was afraid of the Zhang family's desperate methods, and I was also afraid of my father. People can only avoid danger when they know that they are afraid. You don't know now. Wait until I'm older. Li Sun thought about how he had almost provoked the Zhang family's revenge. He was also filled with emotions. That bridge was really like what others said. It was not an ordinary bridge. It was the bridge of helplessness. It was a line between heaven and hell. If he retreated, he would immediately receive benefits one after another. If others entered, they would fall one after another, causing him to be dizzy and his family to be ruined. Why were the people of the Jingshui Boating Company so stubborn? It was easy to commit suicide. They just had to tie a big stone to their feet and jump into the water. It was convenient to jump from their own boat. Why did they have to implicate their family? Little prince, if you can't bear it, why don't you follow the second plan of the Zhang family's letter? It will only force people but not kill them. The maidservant Qingqing saw the hesitation on the little prince's face and said. Li Sun knew the second plan, which was to force the people of the boating company to quit the industry. There was also the third plan, which was to force them to cooperate. He could choose from the 3 plans, but he had no choice. His identity was there. The people of the Jingshui Boating Company knew his relationship with the Zhang family, but they still dared to do this. They clearly didn't put him, the Marquis, in their eyes. He could only choose the first plan. He didn't want to give the people of the boating company any chance and get them down in one breath. Therefore, Li Sun pointed at the first set of plans. The servant girl looked at it and said, "Then let's do it like this." He actually used a series of schemes, deceiving everyone, creating something out of nothing, loosening the reins in order to capture him, capturing the leader of the gang, and the most crucial one in the middle leaving first. Too ruthless. So be it. If they don't hate me, they won't know how powerful a Marquis is. Li Sun also knew the result of the first plan. He also wanted to use it to let some people who didn't care about him know. Li Sun made up his mind. He threw away the other 2 plans and said to the maidservant, "Go and call them over." I have to give them orders bit by bit. Let's paddle the 2 oars. The small boat moves back the waves. The small boat pushes the waves away. The beautiful white clouds are reflected on the water, surrounded by green trees and green grass. Zhang Xiaobao, can you not blindly change the lyrics? The lyrics are rhyming. Quickly row. Just now when you got on the boat you said you were good at rowing. Now you can't. When Zhang Xiaobao was singing enthusiastically, Wang Wan didn't give him any face and interrupted the later part of the song. She pointed to the 2 oars and asked Zhang Xiaobao to row. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the 2 oars that weren't fixed to the side of the boat. He really didn't know what to do. He could only pick up one of the oars and row left and right. It was impossible to row both oars at the same time. When he came here, he and Wang Wan each had an oar and rowed at the same time. When he was rowing, he said how good he was at rowing in the past. When Wang Wan heard it, she immediately threw the oar in her hand into the boat and let him do it himself. Zhang Xiaobao rowed a few times and stopped. He said to Wang Wan, "Comrade Wang Wan, you didn't understand just now. I didn't mean rowing in this way. Is it a goose boat? The kind that we step on? Then I can row well." Wang Wan looked at the surrounding water and said with a look of enjoyment on her face. Zhang Xiaobao thought about what a goose boat looked like and nodded. That's really simple. What are we going to eat tonight? We didn't bring any fishing gear. Otherwise we can catch some fish and go back to eat. Let's go to the pig farm tonight and see if there are any pigs that can be killed. I want to eat blood sausages. Xiaobao, which plan do you think Li Sun will choose? Wang Wan said something about food and asked about Li Sun. Zhang Xiaobao had already confirmed this. It's the first one. Li Sun's character determines that he will choose the first one. What if he doesn't choose the first one and chooses the other 2? Wang Wan asked again. Then I'm wrong. It's not a big deal. Rowing. Master, why don't you drink the tea we brought? In Daxiang Mountain Village, Zhang Zhong went to the village chief's house and sat there drinking the tea that was served. There were also a lot of things added in the tea, but it was not as good as the tea in his house. The yamen runner looked at him from the side and whispered in Zhang Zhong's ear. Zhang Zhong took a sip and bit a piece of ginger. He chewed and swallowed it, no need. Didn't I drink the same thing before? I can drink it before and I can drink it now. I can't forget my roots just because I have a good life. Master, you're right. We can't forget. We have suffered, but we have to remember now. We can't throw away the food that we have eaten. The yamen runner didn't continue to take out the tea after hearing his master's words. He repeated one of the rules in his house, which was that he could eat expensive food during meals, but he couldn't leave any leftovers. He could eat all the snacks that were steamed with honey, and no one would say anything about it. He could eat the food made with chaff and wild vegetables, and he couldn't leave any leftovers. Zhang Zhong had always been very satisfied with this yamen runner, and he was still the same now. Well, it's good that you remember. There are still many people who can't eat. Those who are not hungry don't know how to cherish food. You go out and spend money to buy the food. Master, why would I go out and spend money to buy the food? Our Zhang family's food is better than the restaurants. The yamen runner said with a smile. The village chief accompanied them and drank the tea. He also knew that the tea in the village was not good, but he didn't expect that the new county magistrate didn't care at all. The ginger was usually thrown away, but the county magistrate ate it. Seeing this, he was relieved. The 2 bears had been sent to Jinlai restaurant. Even if the county magistrate didn't pay, he didn't dare to keep the county magistrate here, unless he was ready to rebel. How could more than 100 people rebel? At this time, seeing that the new county magistrate was so amiable, and thinking about what the people who went out said when they came back, he believed a little more. Village Chief Hong, I will stay here tonight. I will choose a place to eat and see how the people in the village are doing. If they are doing well, I will go back early tomorrow morning. If they are not, I will stay here tomorrow and help to think of a solution. When I came here, there are no wild animals in the mountains nearby. There is also a river. We can raise some ducks and pigs. When the live ducks arrive, there will be people in the county who will buy them. The price is the same as the price in the county. As for the pigs, we can make some sausages and smoked meat and sell them for some money. Zhang Zhong picked up the pot and added water to the bowl. He also added some for the village chief and said with concern. The village chief didn't expect that the county magistrate could give ideas to the village. He said excitedly, "Master, will there really be people coming in to buy the food? It will take a lot of effort to get out of here. It will take 3.5 hours to get to the county. The forest is stuffy and hot. It will take half a day to get to the county." Half a day is not much. The Qin family in Sanshui County is Zhuangzi. If you go there and come back, you will need to spend a whole day. Now they are raising some fish and shrimps. As long as they are big enough, someone will go there to buy them. If the road is not good, you can repair it. I don't have the say in other counties, but I am the county magistrate of Huayuan County. I can do whatever I want, Zhang Zhong said firmly. He really wanted to build a road. There were many wild animals in the mountains and some good wood. With a road he could make money. He didn't have any idea of environmental protection. Even the emperor encouraged people to destroy the forest for farming. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.